Hello, people.
Hey.
Hi, Dom. It's great to be back. We took a little bit of time off to recollect ourselves and come up with this wonderful new studio designed by Dominic himself.
New mics,
new look, new us, and same old backyard wrestling stories from the Backyardi'Yinz. This is episode 5 for us now.
Yeah, sorry if you expected some good content, people.
Yeah, no. First, I want to talk about the man to my left here. We have, returning to the show, we have Folkland. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
How was work today?
It was wonderful.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Nice and easy. To his left, Commander
Hey.
Dominic.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Anything new in life?
No.
Nah, just chilling.
Yeah, good day. Took a couple poops. Everything's normal.
Now that we got that out of the way, the whole reason that everybody's watching this episode right here, we didn't get a good chance to actually introduce him last episode because he introduced himself to the world.
I did.
Surprise, surprise. JT Voodoo Bopper's in the house.
It's not exactly my name. It's more Josh Todd.
It's closer to JT Booty Bopper, but you call him whatever you want.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Oh.
So Josh just got back from LA, right?
I did.
Boy, is his arm tired.
And my arms are tired.
He's a comedian too, as you can tell. So we had him surprise everybody last episode. It was great.
Yeah, man.
A lot of fun. He waited for an hour and a half, just like I said he would in the first episode whenever I was contemplating trying to get him as a surprise. But he's back now, and are you back for good?
For the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you can't put any
dude.
stamps on anything, but...
You know?
So we're here talking about our backyard wrestling, and we talked a lot about you so far, but we didn't get to talk to you very much. Mm-hmm. So, like, just in general, what was backyard wrestling like for you? What was it about? Why were you doing it?
It was life, brother.
Yeah?
That's what I got out of bed for in the frickin' morning.
Nice. That's in the first 1 minute. We're good. He saved us.
No, I don't know. I mean, I always wanted a trampoline. And so 6th grade came around. I think my sister and I got some Easter money or whatever, and then that's what we bought. And then my goal was always to wrestle on it, so that's what we did. And like, then the more we got into it, like, I mean, because I remember we set it up, and then I saw you peek from your yard, which was 3 doors down, and you ran down. I'm like, get over here.
Oh, I didn't know you got a trampoline. What?
And then that was pretty much our life for the next couple of years.
It was. There wasn't much between that.
Yeah.
It was wrestle every day and sometimes those X Factor ramps.
Yeah.
Somewhere between.
What a time
So no even thinking about the future. Just right now, we have our own wrestling fed.
Yeah.
Was it like, did it feel like WWE? Like you were
I
running
would say
a
so.
company?
That's like how, yeah, because like, I remember for Out of Control, I remember thinking like, we had to have everything down to the wire. Like, we needed someone to stand and hold the curtain open for us. That's how, like...
The curtain didn't last very long.
Didn't last long at all. But I just thinking, like, that's how, like, we have to be that involved with it. Versus just, hey, I'm coming through. It's like I can open the curtain.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's how I wanted it to go. I didn't want to have, like, just cool matches and shit. I wanted to have, like, a production.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I felt like all that creativity, all of us, we probably wouldn't be who we are today. Know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So was the backyard wrestling thing, like how much you enjoyed that, what led you to eventually training to become a pro wrestler? Or did you already want to do that?
Both, I guess,
Yeah.
because that was like kind of the outlet, I feel like, before you could do that. And then...
Yeah, because you were a kid, right? Like
Yeah.
13, 14?
Yeah, we're probably like, what, 12? Well, I was
gonna
probably
say,
about
yeah,
12
maybe
when we
even
started.
younger than
Because you guys
that.
are a year older than I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever ETW ended, were you ready for it to be over? Were you moving on?
Like to progress to the
Yeah,
base?
like you were going to go... I mean, that and like to become a professional wrestler, was that what you were looking at? Like at the time, like I can move on from the backyard stuff
Yeah,
and go
well,
to
it
that?
always kind of seemed out of reach
Yeah.
because Steve introduced me to a local independent company, and then we would just start to go to that religiously, and they had a training camp or a school.
Right.
And you had to be 16, but I remember saying like, well, I'm almost 16. I'm 15 and a half.
Yeah, right.
And then the trainer was like, if you get a note from your mom, then yeah, why not?
Nice.
So that's how it went. But yeah, it always felt like kind of out of reach because, you know what I mean? It's like that. How do you become a pro wrestler type of deal?
Yeah.
Of course, I know there's a school, but it's like that's like a whole other level.
Even if like there's a school, like there isn't a school in the sense of like you go to college and do it, like, and then you get recruited. Like if you don't know that you have a local indie company, then chances are you probably don't know there's, how to get into it.
Right.
Like it's just, you have the accessibility of walking up to someone and asking them. So
Yeah, and Ed kind of ran into that scenario whenever he trained with, I don't think we're going to, no point in naming any names for any of it, but like, if somebody has a local wrestling company, they can claim to also have a school and they can charge you $1,500 to listen to them talk on the phone to their niece for 4 hours and have him play like old WWF pay-per-views and call it training classes. Like, so it goes both ways as much as like, you can find one sometimes that ain't right. And sometimes you can find a good one. So
yeah. And we got in with the Premier Company
right,
in
exactly.
Pittsburgh. So that's like, you know what I mean? Like that's, to me, that was IWC is the company. That was to me, that was bigger than WWE.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the people that were there, I idolized them. You know what I mean? Like, it turns out that half of them just work at pizza shops.
Yeah,
and,
right, true.
Shit, you know?
Absolutely, no
It
doubt.
didn't seem that way though.
No,
when
they were
kids.
just like larger than life, and just
Yeah.
I think the fact that it was just this is for me to experience. You know what I mean? Like it's like, of course, WWE's you can't even fathom that as far
Right,
as
yeah.
being part of it, but this is. It's obtainable, but it's not. It's you know what I mean. It's the next step beyond what we're doing, and then like that's kind of I guess with backyard wrestling too. I never wanted to overstep in a way. Like of course, no one's trained in backyard wrestling. Well, at least at that time, anyways.
Right.
Like before we trampoline era.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I always felt like I'm gonna learn how to do this. I don't want to like screw myself up before that. I don't want to get too hurt or whatever. You know what I mean? Like to take that chance away from myself.
Right, absolutely. And you did go to a Backyard Wrestling Link show, right?
Yeah, I did.
What was that? Was that WrestleFezt
WrestleFezt 3.
And did you wrestle on that show?
I did.
You did. Do you remember who you wrestled?
It was in a multi-man match.
Okay.
I can't remember. Was that before? Do you recall if that would have been before I got trained?
Because
I feel like I had my fancy pants.
Do you remember? Yeah, you definitely had your pleathers. But
yeah.
What year did you start training?
Shit. I don't remember. But I was 15.
If it wasn't around the same time, it was definitely pretty closer because it was March of 2007.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's no way I would have started training and then
that's
done
what I'm
that.
thinking,
So this
yeah.
would have been probably like right before that.
Yeah.
But I remember, really even to this day, I remember like, because it was an elimination match and I got eliminated.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did anything like extravagant, you know what I mean? But I just however I performed in that match, maybe it was also too because like absolutely no one knew who I was. But I just remember rolling out of the ring after I was eliminated, and I just had this feeling of like I just fucking did that.
Hell
Like
yeah.
it was super cool.
Yeah,
like
of course.
I've never had that same feeling again as far as wrestling goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in front of like a crowd of people that give a shit for the first time.
Right. Yeah,
no
I
doubt.
performed great, and then I discovered women, and that's you know.
And unfortunately, that never happened for me, so I just kept backyard wrestling for a while. So that's about the time that you stopped then. You went pros, stopped backyard wrestling,
Yep.
ETW's dead, the bases at JP's house, and you have removed yourself and started to go towards the professional ranks. Mm-hmm. Then you guys start to find out that we're a thing, right? We got the base now, and we're still doing shit, and BYS1 happens. Leading up to BYS1, you show up, have a couple like little interactions with us. What made you decide that like, okay, I'll come wrestle with you guys?
Well, so I started when I was 15 training, and in PA you legally got to be 18 to be on a show for the Sport Athletic Commission.
Right.
So in the school that I was at, they shut down after a while. And then I was a little inconsistent with it too because I got a job and then just with school and stuff too. So like I wasn't at age 17, I wasn't as consistent with training as I was at 15. Mm-hmm. But it was still like all of this build up. I still haven't had my first match yet.
Right.
And then I wasn't doing anything, so I wanted to have some kind of outlet. And then I figured I just would have whatever safe matches.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I could have with you folks.
Did you have any first impressions showing back up over there, looking in the woods, like looking around, seeing what's happening?
Where'd all these tires come from?
Yeah, that's it.
That's pretty much it. No, I don't know. I mean, it's like it kind of took me back in a way because we didn't have the base for too long, did we? Before it got to that point,
we had it a lot longer than I think we realized.
I don't remember how long it was in my yard.
We assembled it for Out of Control 2, which I think was in August 2006.
Yeah, it was definitely August.
And then we had it till at least, I want to say, like, fall of 2006. Like, it wasn't like it was just one show.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I know we had it through the winter. At least I'm just talking about in my yard anyway.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we did a couple at your house. But with losing the footage, we don't really have that memory. But it wasn't consistent. But I feel like there was probably at least like 5 or 6 that happened on the base at your yard.
So, I mean, the bass was cool. We played on it all the time.
That's what JP said. He said it turned into more of a toy than it was for an event.
Yeah, like that's how I learned how to do like a running shooting star. You just do it. You know
Maniac,
what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
Just run and flip.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so it was cool to be back on that because it's kind of like a gymnastics mat in a way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like to see it in the woods and all that stuff, it's cool to be back in that environment. I guess I felt indifferent about it too because I shouldn't. It was forbidden. I shouldn't be doing this, but it feels so good.
So did it feel weird that like you weren't in charge in any way?
I would no.
No, you were just cool with coming back and doing a couple little things.
Yeah, because I didn't, fun. And I knew that there's this. I don't know how you would say it, but there's this community as far as backyard goes. Like I know that there's tiers, if you will, because I never got on the message boards other than the one that eventually that I did with you.
Yeah, Spot Monkey
that you made. Yeah. Shout out.
Shout out Spot Monkey. We'll talk about it.
But yeah, I got on. I just know through you that there's like this.
Right.
I mean, I'm using the wrong words, but I was gonna say hierarchy. Yeah. But like, these backyard wrestlers are looked at on these message boards as like the indie guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So these are the guys that everybody wants to emulate.
Yes.
I knew I didn't have any aspiration to do that, so I just figured I'd wrestle my old pal Dominic here, or whatever.
Yeah. Right. So you're back now, right? Everybody's back. We just had Backyard Supremacy 1, and like for me, even though it was like a big moment, like borderline, I would say a climax, but more or less just a climax to the build of becoming what like
United.
Yeah, right. So like BYS 1 was finally like everybody's in a pot, turn the heat up, and let's get fucking cooking.
Right,
we were ready to go, and by we, I mean mainly me and you.
Right.
Like, you and I were like, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
I was the GBYWN guy. You were the Link guy.
Right.
We were finding our way together. What can we do to have an ESW-style super show?
Right.
Before we get that far down the rabbit hole,
Absolutely.
I found a little ETW remnants.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
What is
goodness. I know exactly what it is.
Oh, my.
Is that the hardcore bout?
Yes, it is. Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
Show it to this. Show it to right here.
Wow.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What belt was that?
That was a toy belt that I had from like the 90s. I think it was the toy WWF title that I like learned how to spray paint and not have the paint chip, and then I got like a pan and like cut the shape out and then got the logo printed from just a regular computer, then got it laminated and then did that. So like this is literally just like a cookie sheet that we use. Yeah. Oh, the Band-Aid. I'm like, I completely forgot all about this. Wow.
Yeah, that's super sick.
Wow.
You know what my
Looking for the hard drive.
least favorite thing about that belt is? Since Steve made it, he had to win it first.
Did I don't remember that.
That's kind of how it goes these days.
Wait,
That's how
are
it
you
works.
sure you're not thinking of the Shadow Samurai character?
I'm just giving you a rib since that's what you said about the U.S. title.
That's called a callback,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
That's
that's funny.
comedy, dude.
This is amazing.
That's funny.
That
you,
is
could,
so,
you could keep this here.
I would absolutely
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
to
Awesome.
become part of the studio
Absolutely.
some way. We'll figure it out. That was really cool.
I think that also really shows the dexterity of like how much thought we put into this. The fact that we're buying $150 belts. If we had wanted another one, we didn't necessarily have the money. We made one.
Yes.
Like we took what we could use and put it together. And real quick, not to cut you off, something I wanted to ask that I really didn't consider until you brought it up. Seeing the bass again after all these years, was there a sense of like seeing an old friend again? Like, did you have that connection where it's like, oh wow, that was in my yard for so long?
No, not so much with the bass. I'd
Yeah.
say more being around
Right.
old pals and whatnot, and new ones.
Yeah.
Big
And new ones.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was a little bit apprehensive about like just new stuff at that time too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I probably wasn't as outgoing with say you or Ed.
No, see, here's the thing. I was overwhelmed because it was literally like I knew Steve for a couple months and it was like that was it.
Mm-hmm.
We moved on from each other. I was meeting all four of you guys for the first time.
Yeah,
and
right.
it felt like me and Ed are trying to just keep our composure around four new dudes that all have experience doing this. We're literally on their base, but it's our spot now. And like
Lincoln Place's finest just came
And-
to Baldwin.
We all knew each other, so it wasn't like we were all like meeting each other at the same time. Like,
Right.
like we had that connection that you're saying
That
that
is
you
true.
really didn't have that, so it was more, I would imagine, intimidating in a way.
Especially without Quinn being there, because I was like, he was the bridge to
Right,
everything,
right.
and then he's just like, okay, here's my friends, but I'm out. So, so when this process is starting, Ed and I are very invested in everything. Like everything that we're doing, we want to be as good as, I want to stop and point out that I don't think I'm going to qualify backyard wrestling as backyard wrestling anymore. Like, I'm not going to belittle it by saying stuff as good as backyard wrestling can be, because we all had fun doing that. So, like, backyard wrestling being good is subjective or whatever. So, whatever
Outside
it is.
wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
I call it underground wrestling because
I
of the
did that
stigma.
before, too.
The
That's a
stigma
good
of
one.
backyard
Yeah.
wrestling is so, like it the idea of what backyard wrestling is because of the stigma, I feel, doesn't represent what we did.
I agree very much. And I actually used to say that, like, as I was growing up and still in the community, and they would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to a wrestling show this weekend. Oh, you're a wrestler? Yeah, I'm an underground wrestler. You won't see me, like, on any, but I would never say backyard. But either way, like, it was our hobby. It was our art form. So I'm not going to qualify it by saying as good as a backyard wrestler can be or whatever. But we wanted to be good. We wanted to be known as one of the good ones. We wanted people to want to watch our shit. And you guys showing up was a fucking blessing in disguise, because we had Jimmy P and Deke the Freak. And, like, God bless their hearts, they gave us everything that their friendship could give us, but their wrestling ability didn't have much to offer. And we were just hanging by the skin of our teeth until you guys showed up. And that pretty much brings us to Ground 07 here, which is the first episode right after BYS1 was over.
Whoop, whoop.
So if I'm not mistaken, I cut out a lot of the audio on this stuff because, copyright and shit. So I'm not sure if we're actually going to hear anything. But, yeah.
Here's my fancy pants.
Do you want me to try to turn up the volume?
No, it's already up.
Okay.
So, Steve, your first promo back, your first time appearing on a Ground Zero proper. What was going on here?
So this was kind of like feeling like I had to address, the new change, like answer the questions of, we introduced Josh and Dom as, into CTK, and Eric, my brother, was there. He was at the beginning, so I wanted him there, but I knew he wasn't really going to wrestle, so I wanted to kind of like tie up loose ends, answer questions, address like, whatever I didn't get to say, at the time, I could say now. And then ultimately I knew the goal was kicking out my brother because he was not committed to it at all. And I am kind of particular about like tying up loose ends, and just, even though he didn't even wrestle back then, but just like kind of like I considered him part of the faction, him to just not be there when he lived in Pittsburgh felt like like, why wouldn't,
Yeah, right.
we could have got more art out of it, essentially. And that's what, essentially the goal of all of it was to try and make art from something. And how can I come up with a reason why, XYZ happened? Well, let's, we have to address that. It can't go down on the message board. It
Right.
has to be on screen.
And this is absolutely a great reintroduction promo. Like the next day, like after the pay-per-view happens. Well, here's this though. Steve takes a sip of Pepsi, tosses it off to the side.
What are you holding in your hand there?
Kendo stick. I introduced like a weapon. The kendo stick as kind of like my
I remember Ed saying that.
Get his arms.
which I love that. I love that I didn't say that to like anybody. Like that was very easy to miss what I said. But you guys like knew the role as being like the henchman, and you like went to it.
I felt bad about this.
No, that's all right.
I mean, I knew he was cool with it. I know what those things feel like. At some point, it's gonna hurt.
Mom had to be pissed.
Yeah, did you show her this footage?
What's that?
Did he show Mom the footage?
Probably. I don't
Look
really
what he
recall.
did to me.
Right.
Call the police.
Right. But I had the kendo stick back in like 2007, as I wanted it to be like my baseball bat to sting, my sledgehammer.
Little rider.
I wanted to reintroduce that, but do a diversion of like it's not going to be.
Look
like,
at that entrance.
Yeah.
Speaking of
me.
works of art, look at this guy over here.
I really-
like $1 million.
Hey, I don't really remember this match, so you guys are watching it with me for the first time.
Okay, well, while we're talking about that, then let's talk about somebody who has gotten a lot of name time, but not a lot of talk time. Lil Ryder, he had some potential. Like he had some
did.
body control. He was strong for his size. He was like, he never got any taller. So that like that Lil thing definitely stuck, but so did the rider, unfortunately.
He rides.
We had him pegged from a young age, but he like for not knowing what he was doing, he had potential.
He definitely was athletic enough to, hide his, lack of wrestling skills,
right.
with the showmanship.
What was his age here?
I think 13.
Oh, my
wow.
God. Don't say that.
Maybe 14.
You talking about pegging him? Golly.
You're saying that I'm like assaulting a 13-year-old.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
He's 3 or 4 years younger than you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I definitely remember him being younger. I didn't realize he was that young.
I don't think I knew that. That's that thing I do.
That's the thing you do.
Yeah.
No point later today.
Do that thing.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you were going to do that thing that you normally
Yeah,
did.
that
And there
thing
you go.
I
You
do.
did that thing.
Oh, off the chair to get taller rider.
CTK doing. Oh, Dominic's got it.
I'm always pulling out a weapon. Wasn't willing to take.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you can hit me in the back of the head.
Which is like the worst place to get hit with anything.
Okay, it looks like I'm gonna end him here.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Yeah, of course.
Oh hell yeah!
Numbers
Chalk one
game.
up for the dog.
I don't know.
I don't know. Who am I wrestling?
Oh.
This guy.
I don't know.
You're worthless.
Remember anything about this?
I was like, frick. I don't want to wrestle sick Rick.
I feel that.
No, I'm kidding. I remember that.
I remember planning this, and I remember it being very easy for us to talk to each other and
Yeah.
just being like, we're just going to
This-
go out there and do some stuff.
Is it the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, first time.
I
Oh,
remember
no,
that.
you know what? We did wrestle in a triple threat match against each other.
Yeah,
Me, you, and
that's
JP
right.
in a triple threat. So this was definitely better than that.
Yeah.
And this is where I think I booked you to start doing the super kick, because I definitely planned the spot for you to hit it, and you hit it on me really strong in this match. And just
I remember that.
That was good.
Didn't really show up on tape.
Josh, did you get those shorts custom made or were they stock shorts?
No, I got them made.
Really?
I think Paul London probably had gear similar.
Okay.
And probably like
Right.
SmackDown versus Raw video
right,
game
right.
or something.
Right.
And then my mom's friend was a seamstress. And
Okay.
then-
Yeah, I
Whip 'em up?
thought you got them customized, but then like since then I've seen a good bit of like people in pro that have like near identical.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously a trendsetter.
I know, right? So like, that's really cool.
There it
that,
is.
Like so like I
So
didn't.
here's some miscommunication.
That's all right.
Me and Josh had at least one thing like that in every match we ever had together.
That's what makes us us.
Us.
Bang.
Oh, nice rapid fire.
Josh did
I'm
have
gonna
a
flip-
knack
no,
for
I'm not.
kicking you in the face.
He did not.
You don't
mind.
get to see
And
it.
you know, I didn't mind getting kicked in the face either, so it was a good trade-off. Ed, on the other hand, was not the biggest fan.
Imagine being a backyard wrestler, getting kicked in the face, and then just getting super mad about it.
Right.
Like, oh,
How dare you?
put myself here.
Which
There it is. Little ball
Oh.
tap.
that was cool.
Good
Right in the
placement.
throat.
That was cool because like it required you to jump to your right, like you had to like pivot
Yeah.
and then do it, and you did it in one motion.
Yeah, I'm pretty fantastic.
I thought that was really cool.
Are we
So
gonna
here we
get
have the big BYS rematch. The one thing I remember about this match was Ed was like hitting a bunch of moves on Steve's arm, and Steve just looks up and goes, "Oh, this kid's psychology is really improving working against me."
I just got to point out that the way he was wearing the belts was
Yeah,
how
it's like- yeah,
was
yeah.
Oh.
we had it reversed.
Yep.
And we changed it to make it fit
Oh,
better.
cool.
And that
So
was not a coincidence.
that belt is actually not that belt.
It's not the exact belt.
Never mind that.
But-
fucking ruined it.
Same belt, same idea, but the other belt was like a real, actual
Yeah.
replica ECW championship.
Yeah, the same
I
design,
see.
different prop.
I see.
Do you though?
Yes. It was
So,
better.
Ed's still the shit. Steve's still the shit. Everything's looking good. Steve's working on keeping this new character that he's building for himself, Mr. Pyromaniac CTK Folkland. Not so much of the Pyromaniac. And also, you kind of dropped the spray paint thing mostly,
I
too,
did.
right? Yeah.
I did. In the sense of, well, like I think I still did it. I wanted to do it in the entrance, but like,
Oh, that's right.
You
Yep.
know, that was pretty much when I did it. But it's not
Big
something
boy.
that I could do all the time.
Ed sold that like a champ.
Yeah, he
Bless his
did.
Always
heart.
does. Always does. He's the GOAT, dude. Ed's so good.
I think the idea was like it became less about the individual like gimmick and more like cult leader. That
Yeah.
was the idea, because even the logo itself, like because I did the CTK logo, I wanted it to be like a combination of like the
Good move.
iconic Jesus fish,
Uh-huh.
as well as there was like inspiration of like the Zodiac killer,
Right.
Zodiac logo rather, and so you can kind of see it right there. Like that was the idea, and like I kind of just naturally kind of stopped doing the spray paint to kind of more of a delusions of, greater, is that what the phrase?
Grandeur.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, English isn't my first language.
Look how nice that tarp was.
Every once in a while.
That was a combination of 2 or 3 from Ed, right?
That was two,
Arcane
that was
no.
2 Ed tarps. Those were the 2 that were down in his yard.
You can use it.
And the tape rarely wanted to cooperate. Oh my God, the art was special. So gross. And then let's hit him with one of these. I'm Tajiri.
And that the idea behind the mist was like, as far as I knew, like, I don't know of anybody on the backyard up until that point that did it.
I couldn't agree more.
And I mean, there may have been like some, like one individual person that like wrestled at this company, but like didn't go to super shows. So like that was the idea. It's like, what can I do different, and what can I do to make it,
What a shot.
to be. That was really cool.
Yeah.
To be,
Is that 3 wins for the visitors?
I believe. So.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Wow.
You guys came in and just went over strong. CTK
I
working
see.
together, whereas we weren't as cohesive yet.
United.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were ETW strong.
CTK strong.
CTK
is what you
strong.
were.
but like I said before, that was the idea, was that CTK was essentially ETW without using those
3
letters.
letters, the same guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And we did another Ground Zero like almost immediately after that, but it's not really worth watching. But it was cool. It was like a Lil Ryda centric show.
Oh yeah, because I remember we didn't have like everybody available, and like
Right.
I think I must have like had the itch. I'm like, let's go, let's
Yeah.
do this. And I really liked Sean. Like, he was entertaining as far as like a person.
Yeah, no doubt,
I was like,
no
this
doubt.
kid's ridiculous. And then so like we came up with I think Josh, you were there. I think it was just you and me.
Yeah.
So like the idea was like I was like kind of like introducing him to join the group.
Yeah, you were
And
trying
then-
to like hire him in.
Was
Yeah,
this when he and I wrestled each other?
Yeah, and then
He was your backup.
something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he was supposed to make sure that you won, and he accidentally distracted the ref at the wrong time, and then you're like, you couldn't even do your job, dude.
So then that's like, all right, never mind, you're not in.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
and then you
killing
beat the
you.
shit out of him
Yeah,
almost
right.
immediately. So that was the next Ground Zero. And like just having the ability to do little stuff like that with more than 2 people and a 4-year-old kid as our referee was fantastic for us. And we didn't have a lot of time to rest on our laurels because it was pretty much time for us to go hit the Super Show road. So
Yes,
Josh
it
had
was.
already gone to WrestleFezt 3. You had done some ESW stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I went to JAS 1 in Ohio, which that story could be for a different time maybe. But we had all had experience hitting the road so far. This would be Dominic's first and only time going to a Super Show.
Yes, but that was not the original plan, right? It was just you, me, and Ed in your truck,
And
right?
my dad's truck, yeah.
And I had no idea you guys were coming. Like, that was a legit surprise. But remember we did that, like Dave Maynard was supposed to come?
Yes.
And like, because I was
Yes.
like,
Oh, my God, yes.
I was like, oh yeah, Ohio. Yeah, who do I know that lives in Ohio? Oh, Dave Maynard. And
Yep.
like, he was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely be there. And like, I was supposed to wrestle him. So we did like this whole like skit of like a promo of like teasing like who was gonna come, and then
Yeah.
the reveal was it was Dom's secret character, and then Dave Maynard didn't show up,
Right.
and gave me like some like roundabout answer why. But I like to think that in canon, the new retcon is the surprise was Dom and Josh the entire time.
No doubt about it.
And
Yeah,
that's what I like to
absolutely.
think my character was saying.
You
I
damn
planned
right.
that.
It's exactly what it was.
So we did a lot of talking about Super Shows so far, but I realized that we didn't really discuss what it was actually. Like, we didn't get into the definition term of what was going on. And
Tell you
so I
how
feel
much.
like we could take this opportunity here to like maybe just dig into a Super Show a little bit.
What is a super show?
What is a Super Show?
What is a super show?
I don't know the next line.
That's what it is?
So a Super Show is when all of us take our own money to drive to other places and get together and host joint backyard wrestling shows at locations essentially decided by the people that were running the show. They would, hey, everybody come here. And it's like up to the people whether or not they want to go there and have it be a Super Show. As much as it is the person hosting it, you still need the people to want to come.
Right.
Because you discussed before about Lee Andrews' BYD show. that he tried to run.
He was really like, because Lee was spending a lot of time in PA, like with Kale and Neo and bouncing around, and Jay as well. And he was like, like, I'm gonna host a show. And Lee didn't have like the best reputation on just in that era. I don't know why.
Right.
Like they did not. Like, they were not nice to him at all. Where like I got know. Like, he would like message me and like, get like really like emotional about it, and I'm just like, what do you say to that, right? Like, no, man, they like you, as they're like very obviously saying on the message board, you should fucking kill yourself, right? They're just teasing, right?
Yeah, right.
So then
right.
I was like, dude, I don't know about this, man. Like, he was doing this in like February, and then there was a state of emergency weather conditions. But like, that was a coincidence. Like, a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm not going to this. I'm not going to this. And so that's what I told you. I was like, man, like, I viewed Lee as like still within the caliber of like the ESW guy, even though like he was lower on the totem pole. It's like, man, like, even the guys in PA didn't like. I went because he was my tag partner, and it was my birthday weekend, so my family actually came with me. But like, that was the show that happened. And I saw the amount of people he invited versus how many people actually showed up. So that's what
And when you were considering that, you took this into the perspective of the link.
Yes.
Which you didn't know very much about at all, I'm considering, or I'm feeling like, is GBYWN, right?
Right, yeah. It was completely, I shouldn't say completely foreign to me.
Like, had you looked at it at all, really?
I think it was brought to my attention was when somebody was like, looking for a name suggestion, and they suggested, what if I use the name Sean Phoenix? And like, you brought it to my attention, and I made an account to be like, no.
So that brings us to just another Super Show 2 in Candlewood, Ohio. It was B Snow, Katonic, Cody the Shadow Jacobs, DC Doom, who I ended up becoming really good friends with, Fat Troy, Ruben the Ref,
Tony Sheets, Justin Beach.
Yep, Justin Beach, who owned the property that the actual base was on. And the outside of their place was all right. The barn looked kind of cool from the outside. It wasn't what it was until the base got moved inside. Right. And that's whenever it became more of an iconic situation to be going there. And it's like, it's almost like it looked so cool on camera that people wanted to wrestle there.
Just by the environment.
Right, exactly. So, but this is the time before the time, and it's still outside, and me, you, and Ed head out there the day of the show in the morning. And, all that to say that GBYWN were a bunch of hungry dudes too, and it wasn't just me and you, and like you guys kind of knew about it, or maybe Dom not so much at all, but there were a lot of people on GBYWN that did want to do the same exact things me and you wanted to do. Right. And luckily for us, one of them was only a few hours away, made it real easy for us to take a trip out there, them to take a trip out here whenever. So we're going to run JAS 2 Day 1 Part 1 here. And just give some general thoughts on JAS 2. So
I hate it. It's stupid.
Yeah, right. So Dominic, this was your first time going somewhere else. We're not on your match, so we'll wait to talk about the actual wrestling. But what'd you think about it?
I loved it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember the day a ton, but I do remember hanging out there, and I do remember just enjoying my time and kind of feeling like, I don't know, just
your Fed coming out
somewhere
tail in the background. I see
somewhere I never really thought that I'd be like hanging out and enjoying, but I really did have a good time. And I guess because I was wrestling Josh, I wasn't super nervous either, so I got to enjoy the day.
There's the whole roster of people that we spoke about previously, and they ended up becoming part of a group of wrestlers that would pretty much travel to a bunch of shows together. Later in the episode, when we talk about WrestleFezt 9, they were there with us. Pretty much everything for the next year and a half, 2 years, it was these dudes in SWC. Like KPW kind of became part of SWC.
Yeah.
It was maybe 3 or 4 dudes from CBYW and SWC. That's what we tried to get
look at Justin flinching.
Are they turning on their boys?
So Snow had already joined CTK at BYS1, and then this was Josh's first, official joining because of the.
Oh God!
He made it happen.
Who is that kid that got tossed?
Justin Beach. That's the guy that owns the whole property.
Oh, okay.
But he did it in front of the hoes. I mean, the ladies.
What was the deciding factor on both you two? JP as well came, right? Didn't JP come?
Yeah. So from what I remember, because JP wrestled Saturdays or raced on Saturdays so often, he wouldn't come to day ones of shows, and he would show up for day 2. So I think that same exact situation happens with WrestleFezt. That's why Josh didn't show up until day 2, because JP probably had a Saturday race.
Oh, is this day 1?
This is day 1 here.
But like, what made you you to want to travel? Because like you had only done it once, you had never done it.
Probably because we were all getting closer, and then
Right, yeah.
just wanted to. We were in the environment, so
Yeah.
you guys were going. So
That makes sense.
I guess
make it happen.
expecting to go somewhere where I knew that I would know these people from before.
Yeah,
That
'cause-
might have been it, but someone would have had to have presented the idea that like we could go to, like someone could have said like, "Hey Dom, do you want to go to Ohio and actually
Right.
wrestle?" And like that, hearing that, I think I would have been like, "Yeah, I do." You know?
Right. It's probably like you guys didn't have anything else to do. But it's funny that like it was the three guys that didn't really travel too much and like kind of came together and like, yeah, let's do this. Did you know they were coming? I had no idea until they showed up.
You're not talking about it.
Probably had to.
I feel like yes. I feel like I definitely did
Yeah.
because I would have had to share address information
right.
and stuff. I was
Unless
probably,
JP was close with Brandon at the
No.
time.
No, I don't think so. Not at that time.
and especially because I had already been there. I'm sure that I
Right,
knew,
yeah.
I knew
right.
they were coming for sure.
Right.
And why didn't you bake a cake?
Yeah, come
At
on.
the time, I wasn't Chef Rick. I was just some little fat kid smoking Newports, dude. Like all I knew how to do was land on my head and
Come on now.
hit the marijuana. So the song that was used for this, I'm sure you remember it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, would you
Oh,
suggest it?
MGMT Kids?
Yep.
Yeah. That was really popular at the time. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. First of all, I want to point out a lot of new names we're seeing that were not at BYS1 and
Yeah.
were not in that promo. Some people from the Indiana company were here. We have the pen name. We had Devin Bliss, Johnny Light,
Yep.
Bone Crusher,
Caleb
Chongo.
bleeding
Yep.
already?
All of them.
Golly, what'd you say?
Is he bleeding already?
I probably.
Yeah.
Chris Castle was at this show.
Right. So one of the things that I wanted to point out to you
There's
is
Billy the Turtle.
one of the things that I really liked about whenever you and everyone would do music videos is when you would use I didn't really vocalize this back then, but like popular songs at the time because it instantly dates it and it takes me back to that, like that summer of 2009, right? Versus for one of your videos, you used like a Blink-182 song, Damn It, that it wasn't popular at the time.
Yeah.
So like for me, there was a little bit of disconnect in that aspect where it's like when I watch this or when I would, listen to the song, if I hear it on happenstance, I think of this. I affiliate it with the video. So when you, I don't know if you asked me for a suggestion.
yeah.
That's why I threw that one because I love that song at the time.
The most disappointing thing about Ohio and Indiana wrestling is they were just not good with media. Like their camera qualities were bad. Indiana had a very popular YouTube channel,
did.
but their pixels and you could not see what was going. I did not understand how people watched their videos thousands of times. They had so many subscribers and views, and I'm sure watch hours. And
What year was this?
2009.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is just okay. So a lot of this frustration is coming from literally right now having to go download this stuff again and fix it and upscale it. And
Right.
It was just so difficult to get my hands on, and all of our stuff looked great. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, were we using your camera for Ground Zeroes, and you were sending me files?
I don't think so. It's possible. I don't remember at all.
Because I don't remember having a camera good enough to accomplish some of the stuff that we did. Like I think for even Ground Zero 9, I think we used Josh's camera.
That's probably the camera we used then, because my camera quality, same as Dom's, wasn't that good. It got the job done when we were kids on a trampoline, but
Yeah, it was like
there's-
tape quality.
Yeah, because it
we were
was.
on.
Yeah, then you
Yeah.
had to transfer it. Where I think maybe Josh just always had a better camera.
Who, me?
Yeah, you had a camera, right?
You broke my camera.
Yeah, I feel bad
motherfucker.
about that. There was a time where anytime I was at Josh's house, I would accidentally break something, and I'd like,
Camera, light,
yeah.
my heart. Yeah.
After a while, it stops feeling like an accident.
I remember like I was like putting the camera like on the tripod, and I thought it latched, and then like the thing, like the part that the camera sat on, like kind of like rolled forward, like it wasn't tight to begin with, and
Hate
then
when that happens.
I felt so bad, so bad.
Not bad enough to replace it.
I didn't have a job. And honestly, I don't think I knew the severity of it being damaged because I think
That's right.
no. But it's funny because I think instantly for like both times I broke something, I was like, I'll pay for a new one, and like I didn't know how I was gonna do that, but that was just like the sincerity of like
Probably
the
getting-
panic of and like feeling bad that like Oh, yeah, this is bad.
Dude, after Jimmy Nuts at BYS1 wrestled Jimmy P and Deke the Freak, he goes to Candlewood, Ohio to wrestle Tony Sheets. Like, what was happening with the booking of Jimmy Nuts?
Gotta have bad days, have good days.
Story about those pleathers, but like, let's just keep them in mind for for about probably a half an hour, 40 minutes from now. We'll get to
Where's this James Nutter scissors kick? That's what I came here for.
Gotta be coming.
I think Nutter probably wasn't completely comfortable with everybody so much, and maybe you didn't know him that well. Would be my guess why, because you only met him at BYS1, so
right.
why you would know his skill,
right?
Teasing me.
And at the time, I don't necessarily think that it was 100% like, oh, this person needs a good booking, this person needs a good booking, like it was just like,
let's do a show.
Everyone's trying to establish themselves, so we had to like build a foundation first.
No doubt.
Oh,
there it is.
How you doing?
That's gonna be all of them. And that's the end of day one, part one there. So that gets us into the actual SWC footage from JS2, and we'll be able to take a little deep dive into this. Hack Edgerman versus FX after Hack Edgerman versus FX versus Beast Snow at BYS1.
Whoa.
For me, was disappointing. And it's not, at the time, it was not against FX. It was just, I love Ed, and I want him to wrestle everybody.
Yeah.
So the fact that I literally just saw him versus FX in a triple threat match, I was like, literally anybody else, please.
Could have wrestled anybody else. Why are you doing a rematch?
Right. And it was good. It was fine. And I remember Ed being like moderately happy about this match, but like couldn't do Ed versus Devin here or something. I don't know.
Right.
Oh no, we couldn't because we're about to see me versus Devin.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wish it would, even if it was like anybody, Katonic, I don't care. But like I just saw him wrestle FX.
Yeah, it's pretty odd because like that was one of the things, at least with me, like I never wanted to do rematches per se, especially on a super show. Like, I mean, I did a rematch with Ed, but that was, a
home show, right?
Yeah, right. Where it's like, I have an opportunity to wrestle someone I don't have the opportunity to wrestle usually. That was so cool.
Yep.
And that's like always like one of the things that I wanted to do is
Madman.
Wrestle someone new.
The skull fucker, and then Ed hits him with the rhino sex because he refused to take the move. Love double knees.
Oh,
Ed's a lunatic, dude.
Now, I was just going to ask if Ed had kick pads on or just really high socks.
Same as always, high socks.
Okay. Because sometimes they look like kick pads that are just shin guards to me. Sometimes, it's pretty obvious.
He wore kick pads one time. It was with sweatpants. It looked kind of cool, actually, but he just didn't keep going.
He don't need them.
Nah.
Dickies for life.
Backyard wrestler extraordinaire. All three of them boys, because Hack wins everything no matter what. Me versus Devin Bliss. So this match actually has a fun little story. Devin was supposed to be at BYS1. It was going to be him in that triple threat match with Brandon and FX and Ed. Ed really wanted to do it, and it was like the week of or leading up to a week of, and Devin canceled on the show because I think he was 16 or 17 at the time, and his parents said that he wasn't allowed to go. At the last minute. So he ended up not coming, and because of that, him and I decided to work some online heat.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I don't like you because showed my show, and he's like, get over it type shit.
Real quick, not to cut you off, I wonder if he couldn't come to the show because you just said he was underage, and BYS1 was in the middle of the week, and he had school.
Nope.
Uh-oh. What's about to happen, Rick?
As Dominic said earlier when we were talking about this, I never really cared if there was something behind me. Like, I'm going to look the other way and just jump into it, and it is what it is.
But I'm sorry, yes, cut you off. You guys are working online.
Yeah, so we were doing some...
It is a cat.
Sorry, was that a pig in the back?
That's what I thought!
So we were doing some...
I know Ohio women are ugly, but
we were doing some online heat situation here and made it seem like we really hated each other. We didn't talk to each other at all, and... there was one point whenever I first showed up where we walked behind my dad's truck so we could actually say hi to each other and talk for a few minutes. I used that in a fucking promo. But yeah, it was a good time.
You died at the end of that.
I did. That was always my cell. I would take a big bump on my head and then die.
Works for you.
Yeah.
Bang. Hit you in the nuggies.
And honestly, this match was really fun. I loved wrestling with Devin. I took a couple bumps for him, and he took a really big one for me coming up here in a second.
You guys look good against each other.
Yeah,
like
very
your body
comfortable.
types and everything, just standing. You know. What
and
I mean?
then he'll
Good
never take
matchup.
that again.
Oh my God.
I feel bad about that. I never did the move before. Yeah, he was hurting.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yikes.
So this is the scenario here where I'm like, all right, I'm sick of the numbers game always being against us. There's already this pre-built crew of people. let's me and Ed join Dark Star, which was the only other faction that was in Backyard Wrestling. And I'm like, there's no way I can stand up to 15 CTK people. I need some more people. And I didn't tell you this.
Yeah, I remember specifically you told me that, like, I needed to be there for that.
Yeah, right.
I have to watch at the end.
So it was like me trying to even the odds situation going on a little bit and just having some boys to get my back. And that takes us to the main event.
Well, real quick, I want to talk about that. In hindsight, would you have done that?
No.
Okay, why?
Because...
Yeah, pause this, because I feel like we want to talk about this.
So I wouldn't have done it only because... Well, two only becauses. The first one is Devin and Stacy left Dark Star immediately.
Right, yeah.
And that put
That's why you wanted to join, was because of them?
They were part of it.
Yeah.
But also, like, it was a group of numbers. I really wanted, I wanted more people. And having them two leave immediately to join CTK was like, well, now there's 15 of them.
Right.
And I'm in a group with Shadow and Bone Crusher and FX, and it's FX's group. And I'm like, I don't want to even do this anymore. So that happened like so fast that it made it not worth it. And also the pop at the time was like half the people there were in Dark Star.
Right.
So it was like, it was really just Steve being like, what? I didn't know that was going to happen.
Right.
And it was a moment for being a moment. It was not worth it. It wasn't fun.
Where, I just acknowledged what you were saying. I think that by you joining his faction devalued what you were doing on your own. It wasn't so much now Rick and SWC revolting, fighting back, that like you became you were like under his tutelage, right? You weren't the leader, right? And it should have been you, strong, united, with your own army of whoever it is that was. So I feel like it devalued you, and I didn't quite realize that at the time. Not that matters, but
like I said, we don't have to qualify it. It does. It is what it is. But at the same time, I do very much agree with you. I think it would have been different had Devin and Stacy stayed. I think we actually could have done some stuff. But because it was, as soon as it happened, they were gone. And then it's me and Ed's laughing at the whole situation and shit. It was just a moment that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
But at the time, I didn't know.
Like, imagine how cool it would have been if you started a faction at this show.
Yeah.
And, like, that would have made you look like equal, but I feel like, that just, you became one of his henchmen.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, no doubt. I wasn't being selfish though, brother. I was trying to get everybody over.
Yeah, I hear it.
So we have Beast Snow versus Folkland here in the main event of JAS 2 Day 1. He starts the match with immediate green mist in the face because fuck it.
No, because there was an issue. There was an issue with that. It was supposed to be passed to us, and then the one bag that we were concealing it in broke. So we were like, "Well, what do we do?" I think he may have really wanted to take it. So we're like, "Well, let's just do it at the beginning." That wasn't the original plan.
And then he just looks like Bruce Banner for the whole 11 minutes.
Right. And the idea behind me wrestling members of CTK was, I may have alluded to it earlier in another episode, was more of a gang mentality of like jumping them in.
Absolutely.
Like first I proved, like I needed them to win my matches at all costs, whether it was a surprise or whatever. And then it's like kind of like an ego thing. My character is like, yeah, look, I needed you so I could win this match, but look, I'm still, the BAMF, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That was the idea, but we never really conveyed that with a storyline or anything like that. I never really spoke that publicly. That was the idea.
And for me, what it almost felt like was, you have the real life stuff, obviously, where you don't know any of these people and you're picking people you like.
Right.
To be in your crew. So if you're doing that, of course you're going to want to have your opportunity to wrestle them.
Right.
But outside of the real life shit, I always looked at it like you were kind of protecting yourself by wrestling your friends and not giving other people the opportunity to knock you off.
Trying to keep whatever it is within the faction.
Right. This spot. Oop. Nope.
Jeez.
Steve was gushing blood, dude. He got crushed in the head with that door like 3 times. I remember Brandon feeling so bad about it, but Steve made him do it. He said, just do the shit.
Yeah, I got these jeans made. Like, I had like really baggy jeans that like I didn't want to wear anymore. And I was like, well, I'll wear jeans specifically for this. And then I got like a baby face reaction. And I had already prior ripped it because I leaned down with spray paint in my pocket. And I was like, well, I need to, like, I don't want a baby face reaction after that flip Canadian. Oh no! Oh wait, who's this?
Oh, it's Jimmy Nutter.
So he was supposed to pass the
Gotcha.
the green mist to me. So that was improv. This was like, oh shit, okay, now we need to come up with a new finish.
Did anyone know Jimmy was there up until
Yeah,
that
he
point?
wrestled. He just wrestled.
okay.
Yeah, he wrestled Tony Sheets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that blockbuster on that chair was disgusting, by the way.
It was.
Brandon was, I would say, the best at putting over someone's big move.
Absolutely.
If I wanted anyone to take anyone's finish to get it over, I'd pick Brandon.
Right. So then this is
Something about Brandon, even though you could tell your story.
Oh, I actually won the champ. It was title for title, and his secondary title was on the line. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But Brandon was like, he was like a fan of me, like he knew of me, like as Sean Phoenix. So like, we were supposed to wrestle at Sloppy Seconds. So I'm like, well, let's do this, here. So we did the storyline of like, you need to prove yourself, and I was like, yeah, dude, you've always been, that more real life happening, not necessarily character work, but
Right, absolutely.
look at that.
All the cool kids are CTK.
And also, it was not my idea. You alluded to it. It was not my idea for Stacy and Stacey, Devin, and Jester to join.
Yeah.
That was them. Well, actually, Jester was my idea, but they were like, "Yeah, we don't like Dark Star."
I feel them. I didn't either. It was bad. It was not good. But something about Brandon was he was like the perfect malleable piece of clay. Like if you were to stick the green wrestler into a backyard wrestling match and have everything that you want to be done perfectly, it'd be like Brandon.
Right.
He didn't always bring the most to the table in terms of like creative ideas or spots in a wrestling match or anything like that. But if you say, hey, I want to do this, he will say yes, he will remember it, and he will do it perfectly whenever the time comes in the match.
Right. Very valid.
Which is like kind of the opposite of Ed, where like Ed might have been considered sloppy or what I consider it style. You know about JC. He's not everybody thinks JC is the best wrestler in the world because he moves his legs a little funny sometimes. That don't matter. Right, exactly. I agree. He's the GOAT. Brandon was more of like I'm going to do this shit. It's going to look great. And I'm going to look like Keanu Reeves with absolutely no expression on my face.
Right, right.
And that rubbed you the wrong way, right? Like, for a little bit, you were unsure about Brandon just because he was so reserved and he didn't really.
Yeah, I know when we had our match, I said it on the last episode, that we didn't really plan anything, and I know that I wanted to,
right.
But he just didn't seem to have any interest in doing that. So like, to me, like that was all we had to talk about. Right. That was our chance, and it just passed.
So he didn't
us
want
by.
to plan anything. Like he wanted to do it more on the fly.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like, and we might have just kind of planned like the finish, or like one or two things, but like I was thinking more along the lines of like doing something like how we do, like have a beginning, the middle, a couple of spots, but like he was really just like, nah, we'll just but
see what the people tell us to do.
Yeah, but that also it was like that met with more like awkward silence,
right?
Because it's like, well, what do you want to talk about,
right?
buddy?
Yeah, because you two were hiding out behind the entryway the whole time because of the reveal at the end.
I just never knew him that well, and I never got to know him that well, and it's kind of odd because I feel like he's one of those people I should have. So like I no dislike towards him.
Yeah, right.
Just
he was just so reserved.
Yeah, me and him didn't click for whatever reason. Like I just don't remember ever having a
good hangout,
making new friends.
Yeah.
So
but like,
I want to do that.
He's really good friends with Devin, right?
Yes.
Like I could just sit down and have a conversation with Devin, like no problem.
Yeah.
I felt like that would not happen with Brandon.
Right.
Or we didn't do that,
What Brandon ended up becoming to me particularly was a great friend, a tag team partner, GBYWN tag team champions together, Awakening together, Day One together. First Super Show match that we ever both had was against each other. And whenever it came time for me to book my shows, the order went, who's Ed going to wrestle? Who am I going to wrestle? Who's Steve going to wrestle? And then who's Brandon going to wrestle? And it was always that. And it took having people wanting to wrestle you and wanting to put you over in order to get over. And everybody always wanted to put Brandon over. You had no problem having a great match with him. The next day he ends up wrestling Chris Castle. And I still think that was probably the most electric crowd that I've ever been a part of. So we're going to hop into JAS 2 Day 2 here. And
so at this point, Dom and Josh have arrived.
They just showed up.
Do you remember where we stayed at DC Doom's
Now the
house?
show can really start.
Yeah, true. So I was actually going to bring that up. I didn't remember where we stayed that night because I was so tired from all the shit that went on during the day. And I'm glad that you brought this up because I do have a really quick story Chongo and I were supposed to wrestle on day 2.
Okay.
And there was a situation where I guess I told him, like, no, I'm wrestling Stacy instead. And he brought this up to me, and I had completely forgot about it. And of course, I apologized. I'm like, bro, I didn't mean to big league you. I was just trying to do something different. But in prepping for this show, I actually remembered that JAS2 had a night show. Do you remember?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So during the night show, KPW wrestled in a triple threat against each other.
Yep.
Me, Brandon, and Stacy show up to the night show in the same car. And Brandon starts joking about, I got a barn full of light tubes, dude. We should have like some crazy death match, triple threat match, just us 3 right now. And I'm like, dude, I feel like shit. Like, I need to go to sleep. And that's why I forgot where we stayed at, because I was so beat by the end of that night. But I was like, we could do it tomorrow. And he's like, I'm wrestling Chris Castle tomorrow and all the shit. So that's where I woke up the next day and I'm like, well, I guess it's me and Stacy doing this death match thing then, right? So, like, it wasn't a slight against Chongo. It wasn't like I don't want to wrestle you. It's just like organically it ended
there
up.
was another opportunity that you might not get elsewhere.
Right.
So you got, so kind of like what happened with FX and Zane, right?
Yeah, similar,
like, it's like, when is this opportunity going to happen again? You know, this situation is presenting itself. You know, let's try and, you know, run with this and
see where it goes.
Yeah.
But before we get to the death match, we're going to get to the 2 handsomest men in the room right here. We have Dominic's first match outside of Pittsburgh and Josh's second. Josh, actually, you end up going on a Super Show run with us here for a little bit, right?
Was it directly after that?
2009, yeah. I think you went to
so.
like 3 or 4 traveling shows that year.
Yeah, maybe.
Dominic, just this one, showing up with Hoover vacuum in hand.
Yeah, I got the Hoover. I also got DC Doom's hat on because he has my hat on.
That's a little unsanitary, but to
that's
each
all
his
right.
own.
That's all right.
I thought it was a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, that is. That is. Because in
sharing
a way,
hats.
he's part of this.
Yeah.
And he'll always have that.
So we're wrestling each other here.
We are.
We showed up to put on a show.
We said, we'll put on a clinic.
Yep. And I know
That's what we
most
said.
people weren't watching,
Right
but
there.
now's your chance, folks. Buckle up. Get ready.
I'm sure you guys probably talked it over in the car, right? You guys all came in together, right?
We just
So
felt
you-
it, brother.
Now
Yeah.
JP's leaving already. The car just rolled.
We definitely planned this because I remember a lot of this match.
Combined 200 pounds on that base right now.
There you go. What more do you need?
Is this the same match you guys have had 100 times, including BYS1?
Close enough.
Some stuff, I guess. I mean, that we learned on the trampoline.
Right. So
And
more
then that we learned in the bedroom afterwards.
Was the ref injured in this match? 'Cause
Yeah, he had a funny knee.
Yeah, Ruben had a tore ACL or something like that.
They like this. This was the
Nice.
first clap.
Right there.
Yeah. The old Undertaker DDT.
Because I'll put you over, kid. I'll make you look like $1 million.
Hey, you do spike it really well. A lot of crotch in the face in this match. I really
You
appreciate
guys trying
that.
to tell us something?
Yeah, we
It
like
was a
that.
different time back then.
You already-
Okay? It was a different time.
It was nothing that needed to be said.
Right.
It was kind of obvious, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny how you guys mentioned how like nobody was like really into it, but yet like you won them over, and I think like that's a lot of things that like
They were just so taken back, they were speechless.
right, but also like, but
You know what I'm saying?
there's also the possibility of like, well, we don't really know these guys. Like, where's the emotional investment? So
Yeah,
to
I mean, the
speak.
first thing they said whenever the cameras were rolling was that we were turning the wrong way.
Circling
Oh,
around.
Yeah,
okay.
and I was just like, "This is
Oh,
why I
this
don't
is
like
gonna
this."
suck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
But-
because that shit could be annoying. Right?
Yeah, I got over it, and then I threw Josh so hard that
All that power, yeah.
he was gone for.
You had a good breakfast that morning, very hydrated.
I did. I thought, come back.
Where is he?
We're all just hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, all the way around the backside of the
So
barn.
you may think that he ran
Not the
around.
first time I've heard that, you know what I mean?
You may think he ran around the barn, but no, that was actually equivalent to Super Mario 2 graphics, and he ran so far off the left side that he came back from the other side. That's what actually happened. Oh,
So
Don, you're crazy. For that.
immediately I start bleeding here,
Yeah,
but
you got hard weight, dude.
once I'm told that I'm bleeding, I can't help but smile. Because you got
sick.
Yeah, because you're happy. You're like, yeah, mission accomplished.
It's gonna be a sick MySpace picture.
But listen, that's what I'm here for. It's hardcore wrestling.
I got him right in the nuts.
Ouch, kabibble.
All right, guys, you're supposed to be friends. Come on, you're using weapons, hitting each
Bang.
other in the dingus.
It is interesting that I bring out the weapon,
And you.
and then I tell him, and I'm like, don't hold anything back.
Right.
And then he does smack me with it, so I gotta cheat a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you say something to me there? If you didn't, what would you say right now in that moment?
Sexy ass bitch.
That's probably exactly what you
Yeah.
said.
Josh, whenever you're wrestling Dominic, you're a lot more flowy, and against the people that you maybe don't know as much, you're a little more rigid and you pull back a little harder. Was that like trying to protect yourself from backyard wrestlers?
Probably.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, because I honestly never thought this, but like, oh, I'm professionally trained and you're not, so who the fuck are you? You know, I never thought that at all. But just me knowing that you know your shit made me feel more comfortable to loosen up with you.
Absolutely.
And even though you weren't, we've been wrestling since we were in sixth grade. So
I understood enough that we could pull it off.
Because like your posture already kind of gives off like don't touch me, like
I
pull
can't
back
help
a little.
it.
But as soon as you're in the ring with like specifically Dominic, or even at a Ground Zero show we'll mention in the future against Steve, it looks so much different than it does against a lot of us, and it makes sense to me because you were doing your shit, and you know I was definitely trying to throw you somewhere that you probably didn't want to be thrown. So like I definitely understand that, and that like Ed let me throw him around, so I got all that out with him.
So at this point, the title is for the Elite Championship that I just won. But Tony had won a like title shot at any time, and like we were doing this thing where like I was like legit tired after wrestling, and he came up and pinned me like at the restaurant, and I didn't know that like he had that that title shot whenever he wanted. So I was just like, yeah, man, whatever, yeah, you could pin me, haha, this is funny, right? Because I thought that was just different. Like, why am I wrestling Tony Sheets?
Right.
Is that Chongo's the referee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, he good looking kid.
Yeah, he ain't bad.
Oh, wow.
I love Chongo.
So this whole match is essentially CTK helping out Stairs Dominic. Hey, dude, you can get up.
Right.
Come on, get him.
Right. Yeah. And this was, once again, like more just like an establishing lore match, right? Like it's.
Right.
No offense to Tony, this is not like the barn burner match, right? No pun intended with this being at a barn. This is like, okay, we're getting the faction over, you know.
Yep.
Because there's so many of us, so we need to we never really had that opportunity before.
Right.
So
perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Man, what a jerk.
Pizzle.
Oh, no.
How many times can this guy get hit in the nuts?
Infinity.
I like hitting.
That's why I wanted to borrow the pleathers.
Wow.
Dude, it had something to do with stopping nut shots.
Yeah, that was probably his best spear ever.
No, he was actually like, if he was good at anything, he could throw a fucking spear.
Oh, I love this.
This is what one of those moments where it's like everything doesn't matter because the big thing is happening. So it's like what's going to overshadow it, and it was this, and that was this moment right here. It's like I had an opportunity to do something I never got to do before, so let's do it.
Yep.
This was crazy.
I love Ed. Oh, God. What the fuck? Always Ed.
Always.
Still scares me, but you got just enough of your knees on all of us to save yourself.
And it's funny because I did not go up there beforehand to scope it out. Like I wanted it to be like organic, like like I didn't want to give it away. Like if they saw me up there, they'd be like, "Oh my God, he's gonna jump!" Like that's what you see someone up high at a wrestling. Like you're gonna jump off that, right?
CTK carrying you back to the base while Dominic's headlocking Tony Sheets.
Love it.
Wow,
Love it.
Me and Tony are cool, I guess. Were you nervous standing there?
I remember not necessarily nerves, as like I got up there and I remember thinking like, this is a lot higher than I
that's what I was
realized
thinking.
And
if you didn't scope it out, like
and then it was like, there's literally nothing else I can do. Like,
did you think you overshot it?
I didn't know that until like I saw it.
Okay.
But it's funny because when I was up there, I was like, oh my God, they're so far away. Because I've never jumped off of it. I was like, you guys got to come in a little bit closer. But had I not said that, you guys would have caught me perfectly.
You don't realize like how much time you have to flip. So by the time you jump, you're already like halfway through
I'm on
your
my
back
feet.
flip,
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go.
Right. But
no, I don't mean for this to sound like a backhanded question, but like a move like that where it requires a million people who have nothing to do with the match to catch you. The move itself, is that more about the athletic move that you're doing? Like that's why this is great to you, or is it because that added more to the match?
Oh, it's definitely like a self, indulging thing to do, but also with the faction.
Sure.
Like I had you, Dom, JP, et cetera, Snow, DC Doom, and like that was the intention. It's like, well, there are these guys, and it's very obvious that they are a part of the match. Like that whole match, everything we saw, they were interfering with Tony, right? So you were just as part of a match as I was.
I don't remember any of it, which is awesome.
What does that say?
Right at the
I
end.
hate Sick Rick. It was Rockin' Rivera before he met me. He didn't even know who I was. Just said that he hated me, and Stacy wrote it on his shirt and brought it out. Me and Rockin' ended up becoming straight homies, bro. Me and Rockin' were cool as hell.
What does he do now?
Rockin'?
He's
Other than
a
Rockin'.
dad.
Yeah, he's dad.
He's a dad.
Yeah, good for him.
Still rocking.
Still rocking.
I think he does a couple like
In the free world.
professional matches here and there, but he doesn't really hang with the Chicago crew. I guess like bridges were burned.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know the story about that.
So this situation here was me finally doing a death match on a little bigger scale. Pen name didn't give a shit about anything. Got some duct tape with some thumbtacks stuck through it, taped around his leg area so he can pull my shirt up and
Merciless.
give me one of them boys. But this match is a regret of mine.
Yeah.
99% of the spots perfectly fine. The finish was just another thing a month later that contributed to me not having a healthy head or neck for the rest of my life. So
Sick in the head.
yeah, bro.
Were those tacks?
Those were tacks, yeah.
Ouch.
I like that you put it like there was plywood on there. Like
painful.
the tacks themselves weren't bad enough. Like they had to be plywood, right?
You got to protect the base.
Right, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's probably what it was. Probably what it was.
Yeah, I was like, as much as I appreciate hardcore wrestling, tacks were just not in the cards for me. Not even like giving it to someone.
Really?
What's
Yeah.
one thing like hardcore that you never did that you would have liked to have?
This bump.
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay,
because
mull it over.
We can make it happen.
We can. We will.
A lot of times whenever I've tried to give people German suplexes on stuff, it almost always looks like this. I don't know if it's also how I do it. But
I mean,
Yeah,
you
you didn't
have
let
a
go.
lot
Right.
to
Didn't let
go.
go.
right.
Whatever.
Here's Ed helping me out because the light tubes wouldn't stay there, so Steve's holding the ladder while Ed tapes them. Like,
Thumbtacks aren't that bad at all. Like,
Really?
Yeah. I say that, and then like in the moment you take them, oh look at that.
At least you dumped him. Like,
Yeah.
it made that look good.
Bone?
What's that?
Does it ever hit bone?
No, they're so small that
Okay.
like it's just weird because like it's more of a stiff landing on something where like you're used to like bumping on the mat, and then it's like
could never throw a punch. My punches were always
What
garbage.
I thought you were trying to blade him.
I was, but like,
Did you
I was
have
trying to make it
something?
look good too. You
yeah,
know?
well, how can you practice
that's
that?
so
Right.
funny. I love hardcore matches whenever like you guys are like using light tubes and shit, but like you're so gentle with your punches. You know, like clearly you don't give a fuck, so just hit
Here's
me.
the problem.
Oh,
One wasn't enough.
bro! You can tell he pulled that one too, which probably made it way worse.
Yes, and then wait till he decides he needs to do another.
Oh, that's awfully nice of
He
him.
said one more.
Well, because he couldn't beat you.
And you didn't say no.
Look at me, I'm out.
He ain't even in there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I hate that.
There's no way you're kicking out of that.
No.
Good thing he did it 3 times then, because you may have.
Absolutely. So that was our experience on JS2 in Ohio.
Ow.
Is that?
That's a funny chant. So that "what a match" chant is something that only me and Ed ever did because we watched way too much British wrestling, and that was their chant.
That's very
It
proper.
was never "this is awesome" or anything. It was always "what a match, what a
That's
match."
funny. Now, I'm going to ask you something, and I don't mean it to sound egotistical or cocky or anything like that.
I don't mind. Yeah, do your thing.
It's just an observation that I just noticed. Was there any other shows where your match preceded mine? Like there had to be, right?
After this,
Yeah, just in general.
Yes.
Because I feel, there was.
Yeah.
What would that have been?
so I mean, oh, shit.
Because up at this, at
That
least
one, you were hurt. You were there, but you were hurt.
what was that? Where are you thinking?
Goodbye 11. You were like
Right,
you were in
right.
my corner for that. You weren't wrestling at the time.
Right. That'd be
I
something
really
we
don't
should
remember.
look into because I felt like I main evented a lot of the super shows.
No doubt about it. And that was what we were talking about with BYS1 is that you presented yourself in a manner
Right.
that allowed people to accept the way that you presented yourself.
right.
So much to the point where you went from a lower
on
mid-card
the
ESW
yeah.
to like immediately
Right.
Main eventing BYS1, and then we go to JS2, you main event again.
Right.
And then we have a home show first, so we'll talk about that. But at WrestleFezt, you take that jump. So we get into a little Ground Zero 9, which is the only Ground Zero after Ground Zero 7 that Folkland did not participate on because you were in Chicago. Weren't you somewhere else? You were somewhere that wasn't here. And we had a
I
show.
need to see this so I can remember when it is.
So this is the only Ground Zero media that was produced by somebody that wasn't me. This was old Josh Todd over there
wow.
put all this
Old
together.
JT, how you
And
doing?
The camera quality is different than anything we ever had, so I'm 100% assuming this was your camera that we were using.
I never had a camera.
You never had a camera?
Other than the one that I had.
Really? It just doesn't look like it. I don't
Right.
know what camera this came from. It looks different and clean, and I
Maybe Mark lent us his camera for a while.
Did he have one?
I feel if it's that almost rings a bell for some reason.
Huh.
But I don't know.
Okay, so now I definitely wasn't in Chicago because the first time I was in Chicago was at SOD.
Oh, right.
So I'm thinking, okay, well maybe it's Kentucky. Josh is right there.
Right,
So
exactly.
I don't know without like a date stamp on this. I don't know. Like clearly.
Even Ground Zero 10, you say, I haven't been here for the last episode. I was at WrestleFezt and Kentucky, but neither one of those can be
Would have
going
been
on
this.
right now.
Right. Huh. And like it's definitely after July 4th.
Yeah.
Because I remember, don't ask me how I remember, JAS 2 was 25th and 26th of July. So
Correct, yeah.
I don't know. This is going to bother me now.
Right, it's weird, but this is the only one that you didn't attend and the only one that I didn't make, and I would go as far as to say that this was borderline Josh's show. I think
Hell
Josh
yeah,
said he
Josh.
wanted to wrestle Lil Ryder.
Get that shine.
I think that he booked Ed versus JP, and I was like, well, fuck it, me and Quinn can add our little rivalry that we've been doing the last
I
couple
always
years.
liked that. I
That
don't
was
know why.
cool.
It looked cool.
How'd you feel about wrestling Lil Ryder? You look less stiff against him, maybe because he was smaller than you?
Probably because I was confident I could control the match without,
Right.
Not to sound like a dick, but like control it without him caring. 'Cause
Yeah,
he
right.
he wasn't someone that's like, I'm a backyard wrestler, I gotta get all my shit in.
He was like, what
and
are
all
we doing,
that.
dude?
Yeah, he's just here to have a good time.
Yep.
What the hell could I have been at?
Maybe we
Like-
just didn't
Oh.
need to come then.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I just wasn't
One,
invited.
2. Oh, I thought
Good
for
grief.
sure he was doing it.
Oh.
No, you get put down, little boy. Woo, JT.
Oh, nice.
Josh is great at everything.
I don't think I've ever seen
Hey,
this.
look at this. Bang.
Oh, I have. I remember that.
I think that's the first and last Spanish fly I ever did.
I mean, you almost did 2 of them in one go there.
What? Wow, I like how you're presenting yourself there.
I
What was
agree
up
with that. That's all I could see. Look good.
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing.
You were just
You
on
have
all
to watch
fours.
the podcast. Yes, and if you're following us, please leave a comment on YouTube.
Yeah.
We love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Rick. Plug the socials.
Yeah, I never do that kind of stuff because I always think of this more as like our friends watching us.
Right?
But it
No,
turns out
we've got a big following.
Leave a
We're
goddamn
super
comment.
Yeah.
It's the algorithm.
let us know who you are, what you like about
I'm
our show,
yelling.
what we could do better. We did a lot of upgrades for this episode right here, and
All for you.
all for Josh, not
For you, the viewers of the internet.
We cleaned up wires around here, got new studio microphones. We're considering today the start of season 2 of the Backyardi'Yinz podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Going to look a little different, a little better, a little more buttoned up. And we have 620 some subscribers at this point, which
Oh,
is
my goodness.
absolutely crazy to see. And if just a couple of you interacted with us, let us know how you found us or, what you'd like to hear us talk about in the future that maybe isn't backyard wrestling. We'll talk back with you because I don't have a lot of a life. So I reply to every single comment that comes through, even whenever it's one of Dominic's 4 accounts that are dropping algorithm comments for us.
That's the main thing is I'm super flattered that other people want to join us on this journey of our nostalgia. We get something from this, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that there's 600 people that don't know us, how did you find us? What is it about us that you are enjoying from this? That's super flattering and I'm super thankful. So legit, let us know who you are because it's killing me.
Yeah.
know?
I believe that our channel numbers at this point are over 5,000 views and over.
Oh my God, did you see that kick?
Perfect.
Oh my goodness, he got him right in the chin.
That deserves another 5,000 views right there.
It does.
I think we're in the 500 plus watch hour range
Wow.
too, which is pretty crazy.
Dude, we're so famous.
We are so popular, and this is
We suck. Listen to us. Fucking love our shit. Yeah.
It's
we
just
are.
super cool because I just thought it would just bounce around our friend group, you know?
Yeah, thanks to Elgato for not giving us these mics. We paid for them. We did our own research. It's what it's like in the real world.
Can we also thank our sponsor, Fuse?
Yeah.
oh man.
Whoa! Well, JP busted out something cool. What was that?
Did he win?
No, I don't think so. I think he needed to hook the leg a little bit tighter.
Oh.
Also, JP's wearing wrist tape?
Yeah, dude.
What the hell? Is this this is a whole different universe.
This is JP taking it seriously, bro. He started right around here. Leading up to BYS2 is the most I've ever seen him actually care about what we were doing.
Wonder what it was that made that change.
I think it was he got over at BYS1. People really liked him. And
Yeah,
started booking
yeah,
him
yeah.
and shit. So
He
was,
also discovered girls.
Did he
You
wrestle?
think that
he
helped?
didn't wrestle at JS.
That's what made him. That's what took his attention away.
Oh yeah, eventually, yeah. No, he did wrestle at JAS too, but it was a triple threat match with Devin and Chongo, and I couldn't get it downloaded. The quality was on Indiana cameras, and they were like 280p. We wouldn't have even seen what was going
okay.
on.
So this is like you couldn't download it today.
Yeah,
but like footage does exist.
Footage does exist.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. So it wasn't in like the clip package.
No.
Oh, interesting. Because they did it.
Brandon had stuff on his channel, and then the rest of it was on the ICW channel. I had Brandon's stuff.
Which, shout out to the ICW guys. We alluded to that earlier. They had a big following, and like Chris Tyron, like had, he put the work in with production and the storylines and stuff like that. That I think that played a huge factor. Like essentially, he took what we were trying to do at ETW, and he was doing it as an adult with a budget.
Right, right. Yeah, the same scenario. Wrestling on a trampoline, all this stuff. They didn't get on a base until they started traveling to shows that had bases.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew that.
Do you think a family of 4 or 5 could fit inside Ed's shorts?
Depends. Were they American family?
I don't know.
Or we talking?
I don't see color.
But they make glasses for that now that they can actually.
That's
if
true.
you can see it.
I'll look it
They
up.
also make hearing aids.
Do they?
You think I should get some? But
Hey,
look who won.
Look at that
Look at all that arm hair he's got, bro. Champ was hitting puberty hard.
Look at that face.
that was a good sell. A good sell in the exhaustion. That was good. Okay, Rick, for real now. Where was I during this?
I don't know, bro.
Come on.
Not a clue in the world.
Maybe you were sick.
I think if anything, it would probably be like maybe I was at work, but I don't think I was working at the time.
No, I remember very specifically you just weren't available. Like, I remember that to be the case. Because Josh and I were the ones that collaborated together to create this show. So
Was I somewhere else?
In our thoughts and prayers.
this was the beginning of August.
Probably vacation like
End
you
of
do
July.
every day of your whole life.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Is like I don't necessarily have like a thing to do in August. It's not
Right.
like Dom goes on vacation.
Right.
I don't have that. So you know what? I may have been in Ocean City. I may have been on a vacation. No, because that happened right before BYS2. Look at you, Rick.
Right.
Training. Oh, all for nothing.
And at this point, like, as far as growing skills go, like, BYS1 felt like a beginning point almost. It was like, so this is the level that everybody around me is on, including me. This is the level that I'm on. Like, It was a good litmus test of what was happening, or litmus test, whatever the word is.
English isn't your first language either.
No, it's my second. My first is,
That's my new ringtone.
That's gonna get clipped.
Oh, dang. That was smooth.
yeah, we were doing some callback spots to some of our older stuff, but and then going to JS2 and wrestling Devin, I'm like, all right, so I can comfortably assume that I'm in the top quarter of people and not feel too bad about it, not feel like I'm overstating where I'm at. But I was still like, I was trying to learn from you guys every single show. I was like, what are they doing? What am I doing? What are they doing? All the time. I was always watching you guys and then watching me, especially because I was in control of all the media, right? So like I would watch it happen with my eyes and then I would break it down. And I think that's one of the things that helped me get better was like constantly
Being the eyes behind the film. That makes sense.
That's a really good point, because if you can be the person that's constantly seeing it, you are assessing it from a view that not a lot of other people are seeing it from.
Over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I think I was at Ocean City, Maryland with Chelsea at the time. Because it would have been in August, because I thought it was right before
Bang, he's so strong.
BYS2,
So
but
strong.
that wasn't true.
No,
That wasn't the case. So yeah, that's where I had to be.
Falsy? Is that a falsy?
Yeah,
it is.
bud.
Oh, come on.
I was going to kiss him! Oh.
Me and Quinn were, whenever we weren't using light tubes, we were very WWE style when we wrestled each other.
You guys had great chemistry.
Yeah, this was a good match.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad little fight.
I think
I wish I would have bumped that better for him because I had in the
What's wrong with
past. I don't know. I guess it just whenever you do it better before and then you
Right.
see a worse version of it, you're like, I could have.
It ain't the pay-per-view. So,
That's true.
you
That's
know.
true.
This is where you grow.
Yeah, right. GZ10. That's why we called it Ground Zero. It was all about growth, starting from the bottom, figuring out. It's not at all why we called it Ground Zero. There's no reason whatsoever.
Names can change.
Oh, look at that.
after
It's
time.
a roll-up. Oh, my God. We end the long rivalry with the worst, shitty, not a small package, schoolboy roll-up you've ever seen in your
Wow.
life. Still Dark Star, still all day, every day. Ed dropped down and hit me with the star piece. Boom.
I didn't realize that was the end of your feud there. That's kind of
Yep,
interesting.
that was the last thing that we did for a very long time. I think we eventually rolled around again, but that was our home show in between JAS and WrestleFezt. And before we move on to WrestleFezt, I would like to take a quick pee break.
Take a quick pee pee.
For joining us along the way. You're not going to
Rick,
notice a change. And,
would
we're going to
be
edit
a
this.
good idea.
I didn't have to sing it, but
Do you remember this?
What's
Put
that?
yourself in my shoes.
Mr. Legon's.
Yeah.
Sing it with us.
Oh, I don't remember
Come
the
on,
words.
you might. Once you hear it, put yourself in my shoes.
Work it, that's the deal.
Come on,
Put yourself in my shoes.
and you'll
Know how
I
it feel.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I was just following the
Hey,
rhyme.
but
I remember the rhythm.
Do you remember Cabbage Patch
Kids growing in the garden, Cabbage Patch kids growing in the sun. And the most amazing thing about a Cabbage Patch
Is that each one grows to be a special one.
That's right.
No, I don't remember that.
No, me neither. All right, Rick, where we at?
Was that recorded?
We could play Zip
of
Zip.
course.
All right,
Yeah,
that's
really
getting
done it.
isolated.
We could
That's
Zip
gotta
Zap
get
Zop
isolated.
also.
Shout out, Mr. Legons.
So after Ground Zero 9, B Cube decided to have his second yearly installment of WrestleFezt in 2009. It was WrestleFezt 9, took place in the PCWA venue in Mount Carmel?
Yep.
Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania, PCWA,
Which is just a stone's throw away from Lavelle, Shamokin area.
which is where ESW had a lot of their shows.
And shout out to the Lavelle guys, your Eric and your Loco and everyone like that. Shout out to them.
Yeah, you got to give a big shout out to LWF because they're like two of the only people that watch the podcast and interact with the podcast.
That we know.
that we know of specifically, yes. But
What do you think his thoughts are, Loco, currently on the Roaring Elbow?
He's probably not scared, I would hope.
Good
I mean,
to
I
know.
can't speak for him.
Good to
but
know.
What?
I hope there's maybe one or two more gay bars in his house.
You don't think anyone hangs out in his closet or anything, right?
Who's to say?
I guess you got me there.
all right,
Be that as it may.
PCWA was an independent fed that no
We can
we can't call it that. Okay, PCWA
No comment.
was a ring in a building, which was
you
the
go.
first time that I had ever gotten to see such a thing.
That was a church, right?
It was a church,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was scurry.
This show I look at as like the linchpin in starting to bring together the Backyard Wrestling Link and GBYWN.
Right. Yeah, because this WrestleFest name at least existed prior to BYS. Like it,
Yeah, right.
So.
And even earlier in the year, they did WrestleFest 8, where Kenny Storm versus Eric Douglas had a fantastic match. Arkham and Skybynes were on the show. Like, I was watching this, still watching Link guys in 2008 or 2009, even early 2009. And RLSW and other people in upstate New York were still doing like super shows because they were all still kind of off of that generation.
Well, and also too, a lot of things that like I didn't really comprehend as a kid. Like the ESW like split. So like there was ESW PA because there were so many feds, and then there was ESW Northeast. And like I got like, well, why didn't you make this show? It's a PA show. It's like, well, I live in Pittsburgh. It's 3 hours
Yeah,
away. I can't make every show. Where New England, you can go through like 3 states in 1 hour.
So thankfully for us, we had Tommy Flambeau and B Cube to run WrestleFest 9 and invite us out to the show, which was pretty cool of them. This was my first opportunity to wrestle in a ring, like I said before, and a lot of other people's first
Was
opportunity.
it? I didn't know if I knew that.
Yeah. A lot of the people in our crew had not wrestled in a ring before either, like Brandon, DC Doom, all the Ohio guys who picked us up.
Yeah, I was gonna say we rode in with them.
Yeah,
right? I don't know why JP didn't go. Probably because he had a race.
Yeah, he probably
Yeah,
had
he
a
and I
race.
drove out together
Okay.
the next day.
So
that makes sense.
I hadn't ever even gotten close enough to touch a ring before.
Yeah, I would
much
never
less
even
gotten
been
inside of one.
considering.
Didn't
Yeah.
people sleep in that?
Yeah,
I did.
He was one of them.
Yeah, I did. So when we got here, Kale's in the ring, and Kale's like, anybody that wants to learn how to run the ropes, if you guys haven't been in here before, fucking come on up and I'll show you the shit. Like a really nice guy. I always
Right.
liked Kale. And Steve looked at like me and Brandon standing next to each other, and he's like,
Go.
Get
You
your
know, you
asses
gotta
up.
learn,
Like, what
yeah.
are you doing? Get in there. Like, if you're going to do this, you got to get up there. So we hopped in, and then Brandon kind of made a little joke out of it, which I still remember being funny. Like, he did the little shuffle step running
You know
across
why?
the ring. Did you tell him to?
Yeah, I told him
Of
to do
course
that.
you did.
Yeah, I was like, when you go up there, take as many steps as you can.
Yeah.
And like he like never like ran the rope. Like as far as I know, he didn't do it correctly ever again. Like
I guess Kale had the connection for the building. In fact, whenever we showed up, we were locked out of the building.
I don't recall that. But I believe it.
Whenever we first got there, Kale met up with us. We're all chilling there already, and he's like, "All right, let's go in." And the door's locked, and he tries to call the person, and there's no answer. And we think that Kale's like, "Oh shit, where do we go? Where do we have a show if this doesn't work out?" And then, like, obviously, very shortly, it all figured its own way out.
Yeah, I would imagine Kale would probably be the connection here, just by knowing what I know. The owner, Greg of PCW, whom I've since worked for, in pro, just because I really wanted to, just because.
Look at that guy with the tights.
With tights. The owner is like related to Andy in some capacity, so so that may have been the connect. I forgot Andy was on the show, but Rick, tell us about these tights. What is that all about, huh?
So I had spoken with Tony Sheets beforehand. I knew I was going to be in this type of environment. I had seen the arena and pictures or whatever, and I knew, like, okay, let's step it up a little bit, right? I only got gym shorts. So I hit up Tony Sheets, and I'm like, hey, bro, can I borrow your pleathers for this weekend? Because I'm trying to look the part a little bit. Tony Sheets says, yeah, of course. I talked to Brandon. I'm like, Brandon, can you go ahead and grab those tights for me before you come pick me up, or those pleathers for me, so that I have something to wrestle in? And he's like, yeah, sure, absolutely, no problem.
Crazy.
Yeah, Steve versus Dr. Bose, good match. That's a problem with these mixed order videos. This shit be happening. But so Brandon picks us up, and I'm like, you got those pleathers for me, right? And he's like, oh, bro, I forgot. And I'm like,
we thought he was joking. I remember that.
Yeah, the entire time out there, I probably brought it up like 3 or 4 times. Like, where are those pleathers at, bro? He's like, they're at Tony's house still. And I'm like, sure they are. Like, we finally get there, and it's day 1, and I'm about to wrestle. I'm like, seriously, though, I need those pleathers. And he's like, seriously, though, I don't have them. Like, but if you want, I have this pair of green tights that you can wear. And I'm like, I don't have shit else. Like,
right. Yes, you didn't bring anything.
I brought nothing, no.
You didn't even bring gym shorts?
Not gym shorts, no. The only other shorts that I brought were the shorts that I wear against you in our match the next day. But yeah, I'm standing there in green zebra tights, and they don't fit me very well.
Just special.
I ended up dropping a little... oh yeah, that was what it was. Yeah, there were all the colors on there.
I hate them.
there were reds and blues. Everybody had a pair.
They're so generic.
Yeah, so I ended up wrestling in those pants. But the plan was Tony Sheets has a little toxic symbol on his pants, so I was going to go by Toxic Rick for the weekend.
Which I love that.
And then that ended up, like, I guess you and Trey, if I remember correctly, started being like, what about Jurassic Rick? And it just went all the way down the line of
that's funny.
How about Classic Rick?
That's funny.
Trey was here this weekend?
Not here for this weekend.
Yeah, I was like, when would
it ended up becoming the joke that Trey got in on.
Okay.
Beast Snow versus Sky Bynes was great. That was first match of the entire weekend, and Brandon had an opportunity to show out. I'm assuming that you probably said, "Hey, Kale, book this kid."
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't recall.
Because I wouldn't. Yeah, someone would have had to give the tip at least.
Right.
I heard that about you.
Yeah, just a tip sometimes.
Well, yeah, because we rode in together, so if you're saying Kale was there, then I would have said that. So tell us about your match. I feel like we may have to watch this a couple times, and we're gonna have to talk about different things, and then play it again.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to because it's really long. But
okay, good.
My match in general is there's a lot on here. It is me, Danny Devine, FX, Showtime, who ended up wrestling for BXW later, who I did not know. Scotty Skills and Knuckles. And it was a 6-person elimination match. And it was just one of those, a bunch of new kids that are, none of us are the worst. So, put us all together and see if anybody shines type of booking. Like
my Elimination Chamber from BYT.
Exactly. It's all these kids can at least do something who's going to look good. And so because of that, I took a bunch of bumps. And if I'm not mistaken, this is an Anarchy Andy music video. But I know the day 2 one is Anarchy Andy music videos. And, I would say 60% of the clips that happen from my match have me in it. So the fact that Andy was sitting there picking my clips.
That's pretty cool for you.
It was sick for the first time that was ever happening. Fucking Kale and B Cubed versus Marcus Centofonte and J Two Step. This is the first time I met Kale. First time I met Centofonte. First time we met Two Step. Yeah. Pretty much Northeast, Midwest coming together right in the middle of the whole shebang.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing but love for Kale and Jay. They were, 2 of the people that were very responsible in the opportunities that, I got. And, I was able to do what I wanted to do because of Kale and Jay. So getting to seeing them again after, 2 years was really cool.
Yep, I'm sure. We had, that.
Oh, man. Oh, I got you the receipt, though.
Yeah, and then this one actually really sucked, even though it don't look like it. He crushed me.
Oh, wow.
And so I remember on the way out to the show, you were like, I'm wrestling Dr. Bose. And I'm like, who is that? And you're like, big dude, plays a doctor, really good. And that's all you gave me on. And you guys started wrestling, and you guys start working around like an injection gimmick, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. The idea was, because like UWA back then was very storyline driven to the point where Dan Makabe was in town. And for those who don't know, Dan Makabe, current indie wrestler, former backyard wrestler from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, the West Coast, was in town in New Jersey and said, hey, I'd like to come wrestle with you guys. And they're like, well, it wouldn't work for our storylines.
Oh, my.
And they didn't let him do it. That's how devoted they were.
Yeah.
To backyard wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. But here's the thing. At one point, they had their current champion was the Ring of Honor Pure champion. Jay Lethal was working for them. Jay Youngblood, I believe his name was, at the same time as being the Ring of Honor Pure champion.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
But yeah. So the idea was, he had the doctor gimmick, and I didn't even like.
Look at the kid.
How'd your knees feel after that? Your feet?
It's funny because like my knees and they're like one of the body parts that don't bother me. I mean, that's like the most common Joe Blow body part that hurts, right? So he does the
watch him grab the rope.
He made it worse because of that. Look at that.
That was safe. That was very safe.
That was good. Yeah, it was him and Tech's idea because I guess I don't think I ever really met John at that point, but he saw that I was the same height as Andy, Tech.
Yeah, right.
And I guess he figured like, okay, well, I'm familiar with working with Tech because Tech was familiar with me.
Yep.
And they kind of called the match. Like they had they've been wrestling for so long that they called like, oh, how we did this? Well, what if we do it like that? Because they knew each other so well that Andy was able. Why do I keep calling him that? The Tech was able to kind of call the match by proxy for me, like knowing what I can do, which is really cool. And, like I was also like able to like tweak things. Be like, oh, well, like what about, if instead of doing this move, what if I did this? Kind of like adding my own flair to it. But for all intents and purposes, this was John Bowes and Tech's match, and I was just subbing.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like we did. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. He was, the idea was he had this syringe with legit a needle, and he showed me that he was gonna bring it out and he was going to show really professional wrestler of him. He was going to show it. And then there was going to be he was going to take my Halo Mega, which is that flipping, that inverted code red. And by taking that, he was going to throw it, which is incredibly dangerous because it legit had a needle on it and there were people around, right? And then he was going to grab a different syringe that was not going to have a needle and then immediately take it into play.
Yeah.
So the idea is you introduce the prop in its most dangerous form and then you reintroduce it in a safe environment and you hide the fact that it's different. So just by seeing the needle and you see the next syringe, you assume this one has a needle too. Why wouldn't there be?
Right.
And then he was trying to inject me with something in the Halo Mega, countered it. And then I fought it and then ended up injecting him with it. And then it like was a tranquilizer. Like it was part of the,
right. Yeah.
Like that's why he was trying to use it on me, like to slow me down. Cause I was doing, tilt-a-war head scissor mirror spots that I'd never done before.
Yeah. That him and Tech did that constantly.
Yeah.
Every match they ever had, they were doing that.
He was like, do you want to do a deja vu head scissors? And I was like, I don't think I've never done that. And he's like, oh, it's really easy because it's all on the guy doing it. And I was like, oh, then yes,
great.
Let's do it.
Yeah, right.
And then I did a suicide dive I saw earlier. I'd never done that before. Like even to this day, I was actually just talking about
that
this.
spot was really cool.
If somebody were to do what I did in pro wrestling to me, I'd be furious in the sense of like, oh, can you do this? And like, I'm just like, yeah, sure. Even though like I've never done it and I never practiced it. If I found out that somebody took a risk like that with me, I'd be furious, you know?
Scoop slam Danny Devine.
Oh God.
A lot of the Northeast people were mad about that.
Why?
And I don't know. I guess they thought that it was dangerous or whatever. First of all, he said it was fine.
Yeah.
Second of all, it was his idea.
Right.
Third of all, he didn't get hurt at all.
Right,
so like, they just took offense for it for no reason, just to take offense.
Right.
And it ended up following me around for a while because of stuff like that. It's just people taking offense for no reason but to take offense. So years later, Danny and I actually ended up having a singles match like near the end of my run where we built the entire match around scoop slams.
Love that.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't know that, and I'm sure I didn't, it's cool to have the continuity within your characters. And
Right.
I love that.
It was probably, I think it was like 3 or 4 years later where it's just like, hey, remember when everybody got mad about that? Let's just do that the whole match.
Right. Also, some of Sky's offense in this is incredible. The leg sweep into like a neck breaker I've seen him do. That's incredible.
That's pretty funny. That's some backyard wrestling shit for you
This
right
wouldn't
there.
be Andy's doing then. Andy wouldn't do that. I think this, I want to say maybe Sky made this.
Maybe, yeah.
Either Sky or Soy.
So that's another thing is that Soy, I knew who he was. I saw him have some crazy matches, specifically him versus Andy at Abyss. I remember me and Ed fucking loved that shit. But first time seeing Tony Deppen and like, I was like, why is this Tony Deppen dude in the main event against Soy at this show? Like, what's about to happen? And holy shit, if that wasn't so much fun to watch.
That was him going unconscious because of the needle. Just
Yeah, right.
I'm sure he's pointing that out. What happened there?
Yeah. And crowd was bonkers for this match, dude. Like, everybody was going crazy. It was very fun to see Soy Boy in person for the first time, meeting a lot of these people, finally getting to see them wrestle, and then, like, learning some new dudes that can fucking go. Like, Ryan Brody was there, and I really enjoyed watching Tony wrestle, and I really liked a couple of the random indie wrestlers that showed up. And there's actually my dude Mike Damage, who we met for the first time this day, which is weird to think that he was there. He was probably younger than shit.
Yeah,
but
I
if I remember correctly, his dad drove him to this show. No, he definitely did, because I hung out and talked with him for a little bit. So his dad drove him to this show and hung out with us for a little bit, which was really cool.
You mentioned indie wrestlers that were there. Who are you talking about?
So there's some day two where one of them was like, there's a dude named like Andy Header.
Okay,
maybe.
yeah, I know them. Yeah,
and then there was another dude named Cody something who wore like some white pants with holes in it and ended up wrestling Danny Devine.
Are we going to see it on the?
We're not, because this is going a while and we're only going to really watch our shit from day two. But now that
Cody Adams?
Yes. So we get through all of day one, and it was a nice little time. It was a very enjoyable day of backyard wrestling. I ended up sleeping in the ring that night. I was sleeping as much as you can because it was fucking an old church and loud and shit cranks and bangs and all the shit. Woke up the next morning, grabbed a Yoo-Hoo, and I was ready to wrestle again. So we go on.
Did you really get a Yoo-Hoo?
Yeah, there was a gas station like
it's pretty
catty
close.
corner
Hell
behind.
yeah.
So I just walked over there, grabbed a Yoo-Hoo, and I was like, let's fucking do day two. What do we got?
Now, Dom,
I love that for
seeing
you.
that, what is your take on that? Would you have liked to wrestle in a ring at some point? Because you never did, right?
Yeah, I really would want to. I think that I would have just needed like
Reassuring that like people weren't going to be mean.
no, just like if I was going to go there to wrestle, I would need like, I don't know, maybe at least 20 minutes to like just be in the ring. And have
right,
time
to
in
get
it,
familiar
like, just
with
to
it, yeah.
feel what it's like to run the ropes, to feel how stiff it is, to feel what it's like to climb, like so that I don't go into it going like, oh, let's do a superplex, and then I'm up there and I'm like,
It's higher, right?
I didn't think about this.
Yeah, like what I did on the barn. Yeah.
So I'd have reservations, but I would definitely want to do it, and like would still to this day want to get inside of a wrestling ring at least once to wrestle a like entire match. But I don't know if I'm physically capable anymore. Right. So
That's interesting. Yeah, and like I like getting your opinion on this. Josh, obviously you ended up going to the show. What was your thoughts on it as far as because you did WrestleFezt 3.
And you hadn't had an actual pro match yet, though.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't have because there's no way I would have double dipped.
Right.
So this was
What year? Or does it say?
2009.
2009. 2010 is when I had my first pro match because
So-
I was a senior in high school.
Right.
And I was like, I'm the coolest
So,
motherfucker.
so for
Professional
all
wrestler.
for all intents and purposes, this would have been your first pro match where you had an idea of what you were doing. You weren't a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
kid,
probably
13,
because
14,
naturally you have matches of training.
Yeah,
in
right,
the
right.
ring,
So you were
but in
comfortable?
like a more progressive environment, I guess.
Yeah.
because it's simulating an actual show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, my take from the weekend was Rick and I were talking before. Like, I kind of think this is where we hit it off because I might have known at the time that you were there.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just remember seeing you in the building, and I was like, oh shit, Rick is here. And then we decided that we were gonna wrestle, and I was pretty excited about that because I was like we're gonna show him what's up.
And not only that, but it was supposed to be a triple threat.
Was it?
We had a third dude, and if I'm not mistaken, it might have been Andy Header, but it was definitely a third person that had a little bit of stature. And Jay was like, it's you versus him. And me and Josh are like, oh no, like we don't really know this dude. Like, what do we have to do? What's he going to tell us to do? What's this match going to be like? And like me and Josh keep planning and not going to talk to him and like just staying off on our own. And then eventually, like, we just get word that, like, yeah, he said you guys can just roll out there. And we're like, yes, all right. Like, now we could do some of the stuff we planned, go out there, do a couple of things that we did at the last Ground Zero match that we had, which was just a couple weeks before this, luckily enough for us, that we had, like, a bit of a rapport at this point to know a couple of the things that we might have wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I remember it was just nothing but excitement. I did not want to do the triple threat, but I very much wanted to do 1v1 versus Josh, which was great for me.
I was just reminded I was actually supposed to wrestle Arbo on day one.
Exactly,
and then it switched to John Bowes, and then Andy at some point showed up during this, and I guess he really didn't even know who he was wrestling. And he kept saying, like, man, I wish we were wrestling. And he's like, what if we got the match changed? Like, what if we end up wrestling? I'm like, well, I want to see you and Kenny, right? Like, and then I saw Arbo was there, and then I was like, oh, wait a second. What if we did a 4-way?
Yeah.
You know, because like then we all got something out of it. And like, I feel bad doing that, but like, it is, you know, like it is what it is, you know, like
It served a purpose.
it wasn't like me like politicking,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
'cause, like, I don't know who I was supposed to wrestle on day 2, right? And so I don't want to think like I disrespected them, but like when you're constantly hearing somebody come up to you and go, we should be wrestling today. I wish we were wrestling today. It's like, well, let's do something about it, right?
Yeah, right.
So then it turned into this 4-way.
Which is this is somehow ESW lower mid card, like we were talking about. Project yourself as a BYS1 main event, and that's the character that, okay, like now this is what you guys have to look at me as, and then it was immediately accepted. It was just like, yes.
Right.
So here we have me and what was it, Eric Shun versus Octavius Xavier, so I could put this shit up on the YouTube.
That's right.
Doing some little shit. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Josh may or may not have forgot about 40% of this match.
I don't know if I forgot it so much as I didn't.
You just didn't want to do it?
I didn't just like no, I didn't. Like we were in the heat, and I guess I expected more.
Yeah.
And I'm a submissive little bitch.
So you
I wanted
were
you to take over.
You're saying, oh, you had more shine to do?
Yeah, I was just taking the heat, and then I don't know. I guess I just didn't figure we were where we were. I definitely forgot some shit, I guess, or at least to hold up my end of the match.
Right. Yeah, because
Kaboom,
I remember
that one was a good one.
I
was mad.
That's a receipt for me forgetting shit.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember you stiffed him because you forgot. I remember.
That was on the fly. That kick, I like that.
Yep, but that double stomp was sick. That was good.
That's probably the highest I ever got on that.
Here's that same spot.
Bang.
One of them.
Well, I think also too, it's like you guys, like you hit your friends harder because at the end of the day, you know you're going to be friends, right?
Yep.
Now you guys maybe have not known each other super well. That was cool.
That move is the only reason Sky Bynes ended up wanting to wrestle me eventually. He was like, I need to take that tombstone you do. And I'm like, I do a tombstone. Like, that's the only time I ever did that move. I do a tombstone. Okay, fine. And then later when you see me versus Sky Bynes, I do a release tombstone.
Cool.
It's the only other time I ever did it.
It's like, I've been doing that tombstone.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, when you're like, someone says, can you do this? You're like, yeah. You're not going to say no.
Right.
Like when Yakuza J's like, I want you to give me a reverse Rana. And I never did it before. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I specifically got gear made for this because I felt like that's something my character would have done, where I switched to jean shorts to quote unquote not wrestle, waste Sean Phoenix's reputation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, this is where I belong. I'm going to, the name might not be.
I fuck with that.
You didn't realize that?
I did not catch that at all.
No, that's why I did that.
I really like that. I like that a lot.
So it's like the name is still different, but it's like, because you notice I'm also not being like super heel.
Right.
I think that's just by happenstance. But it's like, cool, I don't have to prove to these kids that like, look, I know what I'm doing. You know, it's like, respect me. Because now it's like, look, I'm wrestling names that I'm saying that I'm equal to.
Exactly.
And so the whole character dynamic was different. Well, you know, if I never really conveyed that, that was cool. And the unfortunate thing is, like, Andy and Arbo are a team.
Yes.
So, like, there was that, you know, like, because we had considered doing a tag team match where I didn't necessarily want to do that because I wanted the aspect of being able to do shit
Did he
with
kick
Ryan.
his own teammate?
Yeah. Well, that's not a team.
this
It's
is
not a
fatal
tag
four-way.
match.
Oh,
So that's why we did a 4-way.
In the promo earlier, when Andy was leaving the ring, Arbo hit him with that, so Andy hit him back in the match.
And because that in the promo was on the fly, that we intentionally worked that in. Like, oh, you should give him the receipt for that.
Yep.
I don't think I met Kenny this day. I wish I would have.
Yeah, we were probably planning the whole time.
Well, I just didn't know who he was.
Right. Yeah.
But then we went to Florida.
Right.
And then, great dude.
You had a very good match with him. I made the music video for it. I love the match.
I loved it too.
So here, as you were saying, like, this is them putting you on the level that you said that you were.
Yeah.
And whenever the GBYWN people see this, they're bought in. So this is, I consider this to be the match that made your second run. This was like, here I am, accept me. I'm in the main event of WrestleFezt 9 with these dudes. And then it's like a let's run thing.
Oh, this was the main event?
Yeah. Yeah, this was the last match of the whole weekend.
Oh, wow. That's cool because I never, you know, like I was saying, like I was just a lower card guy on ESW, right? So like, and then, you know, like in a way it kind of validates my character more.
No doubt.
It's like, look,
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
You know, like peacocking, so to speak. It's like, because I would have never had this opportunity before. Well, I mean, Andy and I always wanted to wrestle each other, right? And I've wrestled Arbo before, so it's not that like I never felt like I didn't deserve it, but you know, like the act of like the thought of me main eventing a show at 16, you know, like I would not have been ready, you know, just being in my own head and what have you.
A lot of the spots in this match were really cool.
Yeah.
This was the first time for me getting to see Andy in person in those blue pants and all that. It was just, I was sitting right there, like right on the edge, right next to where Steve's at right now the entire time, just ear to ear smile watching this happen. It was great for me. But knowing where we end up getting to and that this is pretty much like a big part of
missed. And then, so, like, he was supposed to be up there already and, like, ride me down, like, immediately.
Like a surfboard.
Yeah. That's literally word for word the word that Kenny came up, like, said. He's like, what if he rides you down like a surfboard? It was, like, the night before at the hotel.
He did it. He tried it.
Yeah. And I was also really stoked to work with Ryan because, like, I'd known him for years as well, and we'd never.
He was on the younger side too, right?
Yeah, he was coming in as I was leaving, so you know we had bonded pretty quickly. But you know, I was when I was down in Florida and met him, I wasn't wrestling, I wasn't backyarding. I got a free ticket to Florida, and I'm like, let's do this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that why JP does the kick, the tornado kick from him? Did he get it?
No, I think it's from Kale.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's from Kale. This funny because like. This could have gone so wrong that as far as like it being the finish, there was like, oh, well, what if you do like a springboard 450? I don't know how we came up with it. I think the idea may have been like a springboard like swanton.
Yeah.
Once again, I had never done a springboard before. And I'm not going to be like, yeah, sure, let me practice that. I can't do that. And I just like did it. You know, like,
Jeez.
what would I have done if I fucked up? And like,
Yeah.
I did kind of overshoot, but you know. Yeah, like the fucking balls on me.
Gotta try.
Main event, last spot on a match. I love that. I'm not going to talk about it, but I love it.
Yeah. So the WrestleFezt 9 group pictures, it's one of those ones where whenever this picture first dropped, it was like, damn, we're yeah, right, exactly.
Them boys be wrestling.
Yeah. So like, as big of a fanboy as I was for the previous generation, I was also now becoming fans of us and our friends and stuff. Like we were rewriting the story. We were trying to revive backyard wrestling a little bit. And this show was a very good omen for things to come in terms of like seeing where it started and the linkers and the GBYWN people not only integrating, but getting along very well. A lot of people made friends immediately. And it wasn't as hard to get along in real life as it seemed to be on the internet.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it wasn't like the animosity was just always like the intimidation of like the link. Like it wasn't as bad as it seemed because you didn't know them. You didn't know that they're making like fuck you. You know, like joking, right? But you read the text and you can't read the intention and the context. And it's like, man, this place is fucking run by bullies. I hate this.
And like, even after this show, like we all head up to a hot dog stand together and hang out and grab hot dogs with Kale and B Snow and a group of people. Me and Josh are sitting next to each other. Kale turns around. You know whose match I really liked? And he looks at Josh. He's like, yours. And then I'm sitting right next to Josh. He's like, who was it you wrestled again? And I was like, you got to be fuck kidding me. Like, really?
Was he working you or was
No.
Well, I just didn't remember.
Right,
But he had met you before.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
not that I'm sure you guys didn't click. You know, I'm not saying you clicked, but you know.
So that's the end of WrestleFest 9, right? And we got the show in pretty nice time tonight, and everything sounded good and looked good. I only had to take one pee break because Ed wasn't here, and it's normally like a 3 or 4 break process.
That's it for. We have no more content for today.
WrestleFest 9 is the end of the run.
Cool. Cool.
Especially because I was gonna throw an episode of Ground Zero on the end here, but it makes more sense to run it with what we've been through here, and then we'll start talking about a couple of the shows that led up to Backyard Supremacy 2, and that's gonna be episode 6. It's the next one that we're going to do after this. I think it's me, you, Dominic, and Ed. Okay. And cool thing about BYS 2 was it was only like 2 months after BYS 1.
Yeah.
We took the lead from WrestleFest. I think a lot of the Link super shows were like yearly, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So BYG 1 was
No, BYE was seasonal, I think.
Okay.
But other than that, I think everything was annually.
Whereas we decided we didn't need another name. Right. We were just, every show that we had was Backyard Supremacy, and we're just going to shotgun these bitches and get people back to Pittsburgh as often as we can and try and have a bigger show every time we do it. On everybody that we've had on our podcast, but Dominic wrestled on BYS too.
Yeah, I suppose you're at Clarion, right, at this point,
Yeah.
2009.
So if you guys are wondering why I'm on the episode, it's because I live here. So,
but I like you being involved because you can, like, I like you asking questions from you are the voice of the listener, right?
I literally don't know half of the context. I'll be asking questions. You'll be like, yeah, he just wrestled 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting it all together and seeing it in order, and it's starting to make a lot of sense to me, like a story that I can see. Because, like, as much as I'm a part of this podcast, I'm really just watching it. Like, legit, like, after ETW and a few things, I got to wrestle, but, like, I always came to hang out. Like, that was why I was there. Even when we went to Allentown, I was just there to hang out. So this is cool to just watch, and I just happened to get to be front row.
Josh was actually pretty invested with us though while Dominic was gone. Like pretty much the rest of that summer, you were at every possible Ground Zero show.
Was I?
You ended up traveling to Indiana for us, so I guess that'd probably be the next time to have you. The hell of a fucking trip that was, right? Yeah. So we'll probably dive into that around episode 7. We'll get JP back in here eventually, and we'll just keep this
eventually. JK, champ, you'll be back.
Yeah. But for now, we're going to end this episode, and I would like to end it with Josh telling me what his max bench press was in his entire life.
230 pounds, and I dislocated my shoulder 4 times. So that's it.
And if you could beat that and you are a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please leave a comment on our YouTube, on our Twitter, on our TikTok, you name it. Leave a comment. You think you can outbench Josh? I don't think you can. So you have to say a lot of you talk, you got to walk the walk. That's all I'm saying.
It's about the mind muscle connection, not the weight on the bar. Okay, remember that.
No doubt about it. Backyardi'Yinz Golden Triangle Media out.